Hi, gentlemen.
Hello.
How are we this fine Sunday?
Happy to be
Good.
here.
Is
Are
it
you
just
really,
me? We get
Dave?
I really am. No one's more surprised than me that we're still here.
is it
it'll
just me?
take
We
it'll
get
take more than 3 shows to cancel us.
did we get some new clips in the intro there?
No, no, I
Really?
didn't. No, I haven't messed with the intro.
I'm just crazy.
Well, yeah. So, have you guys seen very many James Bond movies?
I've seen all of them.
Really?
Yep.
I only
Ben?
saw a couple of the Daniel Craig ones.
I take that back. I don't think I've probably seen the most recent one, but I've seen probably all up to the most recent one.
You missed one of the worst ones,
Yeah,
if you ask
and
me.
that's why I didn't see it.
Well, I've been going through them all again because they put out all the Sean Connery ones were put out on 4K.
Who's your
So
favorite? Who's your favorite James Bond?
oh man, it's so hard to say, really. I mean, Sean Connery objectively is pretty awesome, but I grew up with Roger Moore, so there's a lot of nostalgia there for him.
Roger Moore is my favorite one.
But I do like Daniel Craig as well. I would have to say my least favorite's probably Pierce Brosnan.
Not George Lazenby.
George Lazenby is not good, but his being in on Her Majesty's Secret Service doesn't hurt that movie at all. Like that may be my most favorite James Bond movie, and it's so weird because it has like the only Bond that only did one time, and he kind of sucks. But everything else about that movie is so awesome.
I think Pierce Brosnan is the least Bond of all the Bonds.
S-
And what I mean by
I'm
that
not
is
even sure I agree with that, but I still don't like him.
I think he is because the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies rely way more. They're more action films with a lot of guns and firefights and stuff like that, and they rely way less on like Q and the technology and the poison pins and all that kind of crap.
They are very explodey.
They're very explodey. They're like
I,
Michael
I
Bay.
remember liking two of the Brosnans and then not liking two, but I'm going through them all again. I'm up to Octopussy. I watched Octopussy Thursday or Friday night, and I think it might be Moore's best one. A whole lot of people say that his best is The Spy Who Loved Me, but upon watching that again, I don't agree. I think The Spy Who Loved Me is silly and it's too derivative of previous Bond movies. So
Where does
Octopussy's pretty cool in comparison.
where does Moonraker fall in all that? Like time wise, I don't remember.
Moonraker came out 2 movies before Octopussy,
Yeah.
right after Spy Who Loved Me. And I don't hate any of the Bond movies up through Octopussy, which I think was the 13th one. But Moonraker and For Your Eyes Only, they were 5s out of 10s for me. Like, they're like the least good of all the Bond movies. But Octopussy, man, the character, she's a character. Maud Adams plays her. And she like lives on this floating palace in India, like on the water. And she's got like this tribe of all women living with her. And they smuggle jewels. That's like how they make their money. And they run a circus on the side. Like they travel to different countries and put on this freaking circus. And they're like sort of spiritual gurus into like better health and self help. And I just think Octopussy and her all girl like gang on that little island is so cool. Like that really helps push Octopussy up over the edge for me.
The
But
title
anyway.
too, I'm sure.
They were scared of that title. They were a little scared of it at first, but Ian Fleming really did write a short story called Octopussy. Like it is a title that was in the collection. So
A little tidbit that I know, and I don't even know if it's true, was that Ian Fleming, who wrote the Bond novels, was inspired by Christopher Lee's life as a spy during World War II. I don't know how true that is, but
I don't either, but I remember Lee saying he knew Ian Fleming, and I think he met J.R.R. Tolkien. Christopher Lee, he met everyone and did everything, and I
Yeah.
think he's like been around since the dawn of time. Well, he's dead now, but before dying, he did it all. We got the T-shirt. It's Devil Week, gentlemen. It's a Devil Week on Cinema Century. This was you guys' idea. I just want my mom to know, in case she's watching, that it was not her dear little angelic son's idea to do
No.
Devil Week. It was these sick people over here. They wanted to do Devil Week. But there are some good movies with depictions of the devil, so I kind of
my
got behind it pretty quickly.
my mom knows it was her son's idea.
Yeah, Ben. You got some taste in movies there.
It just kind of happened. Like we were coming up with ideas for films to talk about, and then we just kind of were all gravitating toward Mephistopheles and his different personas. So,
Well, Dave brought up Legend, and I thought, well, Legend. And then you brought up a movie that we're going to review at the end of the show, and they both had the devil in them, so that kind of made Devil Week happen. So this is Devil Week. In so much as the three movies we're going to focus on in the last half of the show all featured the devil very prominently. One is Legend. We're keeping the other two a surprise for shits and giggles. Really no other reason than that. And we're also going to play 2 rounds of everyone's favorite game show, Who's Your Devil? So that makes it Devil Week. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about some other devil movies that we may not have addressed before then. But we also want to mention that next week's a pretty big show. It's going to be very different in format than our first 3 shows. Next week, we're going to have our first guest, Arthur Culliford, the director of Headless and a friend of ours for many decades, is going to join us, and we are going to be going through the entire year of 1980. From beginning in January all the way to the end of December. We're going to go through all the movies released in 1980. Obviously, a lot of them we're just going to be showing a poster and letting it go by. But whenever we see one we really like, we're going to stop and talk about it. All of the movies, a lot of horror movies released in 1980. 2 of my favorite 3 movies of all time were released in 1980. So I think it's going to be a fun show. And I hope you'll come back next week for that and for our very special guest, Arthur Culliford. We are very much looking forward to having him. And we also want to tell everyone that if you enjoy this show at all, or even if you don't enjoy the show, but you like us or you're related to us, like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And more than like and subscribe, if you're watching the show, you can chat with us at any time. We're not watching the chat at all times, but we try to look at it at least between every segment of the show, and sometimes even during segments. And if you're saying something related to what we're talking about, we'll bring your comment up and address it. We may not address every single comment, but we'd sure like to see you participating in the chat, because we'd like for this to be a back and forth, so it's not just we 3 discussing amongst ourselves quite as much. Also, feel free to leave comments on the videos once they're up on YouTube. But before we get into the news tonight, which is usually the first thing we do, I want to go ahead and play our first round of Who's Your Devil?
Welcome to everyone's favorite game show, Who's Your Devil? Game on! Name that devil, but don't get smart, or you might end up the devil's butt.
All right, so as you can tell from the theme song, if you get the most answers in round 1 correct, you are the winner. And if you're in our chat, we're going to be watching the chat to see if someone is the winner in the chat. And if it takes more than 5 seconds for someone to answer in the chat, then Ben or Dave can also participate. And we'll see who's the winner. But all the losers end up one of the devil's butt plugs. So you definitely don't want to lose this game. In fact, you should maybe just not play if you don't feel real good about your chances, because the devil's butt plug is nothing to sniff at. So I'm going to show you an actor, and you're going to tell me what movie did they play the devil in. And I think we're starting off with kind of an easy one, so everyone, let's give our audience...
Hey, hold on. Do we just like shout it out?
You don't, but let's give the audience 5 seconds, and then I'll say... Ben and Dave, do either of you know? And then you can shout it out.
Like family.
Is anybody in the chat? Is anybody looking at the chat?
I have it open so I can look at it.
Okay, good.
All right, here's the 5 seconds. As soon as the picture shows up, someone tell me what movie is this actor in which he plays the devil? Al Pacino. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ben and Dave.
Devil's Advocate.
Bam. That's 1 for Ben. Ben, keep score. Here's your next one. If you're in the chat, you have 5 seconds to tell us who In what movie does this next actor play the devil? They're either too timid or they don't know. Ben and Dave, do you know?
I don't.
I thought this was a good one because I've totally forgot about this movie, but I've seen it within the last few years. Needful Things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, Max von Sydow is a good devil. Here's your next actor. In what movie did this actor play the devil? Do 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 do. Okay, Ben and David, it's your turn. Nope.
Feel bad. I feel like I should really know this, but
Bam, Angel Heart.
wow. Okay,
I would've-
don't
I
feel
would've-
as
I-
bad because I didn't see it.
I've seen it and I forgot about that too. No surprise that De Niro's played the devil though. Here's another one. Viggo Mortensen. I did not know this one. I had not seen this movie though. Anyone in the chat know the answer to this? And what movie did Viggo Mortensen play the devil? All right, I'm going to take it to Ben and Dave.
That would be The Prophecy.
Ooh, did you see that movie?
That one I have seen.
I avoided that movie, so I had no idea that he was in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I wanted to.
All right, here's our next one. Trey Parker. Chat. If anyone watching knows the answer, what movie did Trey Parker do the voice of the devil? 3, 2, 1. Dave and Ben.
It's got to be the South Park movie.
South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. One of my favorite parts of that movie, if you're watching with the captions, there's a scene where the devil's in bed with Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And they're like being intimate. And if you have the captions on, they turn the lights out, and then the caption says, squishy plunging sound. I just thought that was so awesome.
The newer seasons, they redid that with Trump, didn't they?
Did they?
I haven't been watching
I didn't
South
see it
Park.
yet, but that's what I heard.
Can anyone tell me in what movie George Burns plays the devil? Chat, we're giving you a few seconds to answer. Eventually, we'll have people participating in the chat. Dave and Ben, do you know?
Yeah, it was one of the Oh God movies. I think it was Oh God, You Devil.
Yep. Oh, God, you devil. We're going to do this again later in the show with round 2. But first, we're going to go to the headlines. Alliance Entertainment. I thought this was a good indication of home video hard format sales. Alliance Entertainment had a great quarter. They said that physical movie sales rose 59% compared to the same quarter last year. That's $52.9 million that they made last year in this quarter versus $84 million that they made this year in that quarter. And they are largely responsible for all of Paramount's titles. So I thought that was a really good sign that a major studio... I mean, maybe that money isn't enough money for like Paramount Skydance to sniff at. Like they don't... That's not... 84 million's nothing to them. But it's something to somebody. And as long as it's something to somebody like Alliance, I'm hoping that hard formats stay in business. The CEO, Jeff Walker, said physical media remains a powerful driver, led by our exclusive Paramount agreement and sustained interest in premium 4K and steelbook formats. A lot of people say that physical's dead. A lot of people are now saying streaming's dead. I'm honestly not sure what the truth is, but I thought this was a good indicator as a hard format fan. You guys got anything to say about hard formats versus streaming and where you predict we're going to land in the future?
I don't know. I
Well,
mean, go ahead. I was just going to say that there's still a lot of people who are, you know, kind of like subscribed out. There's like too many streaming services, and I think that kind of helps hard format.
Yeah.
You know, it's everything is a subscription now, and every piece of software is a subscription now, and I think people are just like subscriptioned out. So I think that works in hard format's benefit. And I see that I'm in some like groups on Facebook and things like that, and I see that reflected online. I don't know if it's like enough. I don't know if there's enough business there to like sustain it forever, but I don't know that there's not.
Well, streaming sounded like a panacea when it first started because all the studios own their own content and they were cutting out the middleman by not having to license things out.
I remember
But
one of the angriest emails I ever sent was way back when Netflix was doing streaming, and I thought I could build like a video library, and so I had, in my queue I had all these movies in there, and then I would go and I would check, and all of a sudden they started disappearing. I didn't realize that they had like these finite licenses that would come and go, and
Right. That's
they don't stay.
they don't stay.
They're
No.
very impermanent. And like, I don't pay attention to too many of the streaming platforms, but I see little headlines about how they're losing this, they're losing that. Today I just saw a headline that Warner Brothers is losing the licensing agreement to the Matrix movies. They're not going to be on their streaming platform anymore. So you never know where they're gonna be. You cannot count on movies to be available on streaming.
No,
and there are a
there's-
lot of movies that you can't find streaming. So
There was also that issue a while back, even with movies that people had purchased. I think it was like the PlayStation Network, where people had purchased movies there, and then the rights got revoked, and so people lost movies that they had purchased.
I think Voodoo used to be a thing too.
Yeah.
And it's not anymore. Or Ultraviolet. Or
Yeah,
both,
Voodoo.
maybe.
All that got subsumed by Fandango, so that's all part of Fandango now.
Fandango, where you can see my latest movie, Gush.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. It's available on Fandango now or Fandango at Home, whatever the heck it's called. So let's go to the next headline.
I was going to say that in addition to the license juggling that you see with services where it's like you're paying almost as much for cable for these different streaming services, and then a movie you don't want to watch isn't on there, and then you have to pay $10 to rent it in addition to that. Like, my biggest thing is, like, for example, Netflix. Because I was wanting to watch Mr. Robot, and I find out it's on Netflix. And I'm looking at what plans if I just want to like binge it in the course of a month or something. And it's $8 with ads. And I believe Hulu does something similar, where it's like you can purchase a subscription, but it's still with ads. And I remember like that was so unheard of, like in the early 2000s, because I remember there were gaming services that were premium to play video games online. To the consoles, you'd have to pay a monthly subscription. And once they started like running ads and things like that, people were like, "This is a premium service. Why am I seeing ads right now?" But
Yeah.
it's just accepted now, and I think then the second tier is something like $18 for Netflix to get it without ads, and even then it's standard def, and then for 4K it's $25 a month. So yeah,
Waste
like
of
they're
money.
getting greedy. They're tightening down on
Yeah.
password sharing. So I don't know if
Yeah.
necessarily streaming is dead, because it's definitely viable. I can, as somebody who has a large physical media collection and all the upkeep that requires, I can appreciate people wanting to just stream that way, but they're just getting so greedy with the pricing models and the license, like for
Well,
like, the
hard
password
formats
access
are pretty
to-
greedy too.
They can be, but I almost argue they have more of a foot to stand on. It's especially like if we're talking about boutique labels commissioning artists to put together some awesome covers and like seeking out to produce extras, interviews, all things like that. Like that, I'm a little bit more okay with shelling out for, like, to an extent, than just increasingly turning up the dial on the same service and giving you less for the same amount or more. So.
You also can't
think-
forget about the like the hard format secondary market, which is where I go to a
Mhm.
lot, because it drives me crazy when I go look for a movie that I assume should be like streaming on
Right.
one of the 5 services that I subscribe to, and it's not anywhere. And I can rent it for $4, and I'm like, no, I'm going to go buy it for $1 at Half Price Books.
That can be thorny these days too. I find a lot of stuff good for good prices on eBay, on Blu-ray, and for a good price. But this weekend I was looking for 2 Robert Redford movies, Brubaker, and I can't remember what the other one was. And on Blu-ray they're like $50 used.
Oh,
And I'm like, well, I haven't seen them, so I don't know if I'm going to.
yeah.
I was hoping to find a $5 or $10 copy to like watch. So we're in a weird place right now, whether you're streaming or collecting.
I'm not going to say that you should go torrent that, but you should go torrent that.
I used to have a torrent site where I would watch things that way and buy them if I liked them, but that site's gone now and I don't know where else to go. So somebody needs to enlighten me, I think. But let's go on to our next little tidbit, which is in the realm of technology. We've got actors like Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine giving their voices to AI, specifically a company called 11 Labs. Caine has joined the iconic voice marketplace with this company. That's what they're calling it. And it allows companies and creative teams to request the approval to use Caine's voice in their projects. So it's not the kind of thing yet, anyway, where you or I can just go there and subscribe and have automatic access to Michael Caine's voice. There is another barrier. You have to get approval, but the fact that it's available at all is interesting. There are other actors that are involved in this, that are in this stable of talent that you can try to get permission from, include Liza Minnelli, Judy Garland, John Wayne, Laurence Olivier, Jean Harlow, Lana Turner, Maya Angelou, Alan Turing, which I thought was a weird one, and Babe Ruth. So a lot of dead people whose estates are milking their legacies for all they can. And
Okay.
Liza Minnelli, if I'm not reading that wrong, she's the only one that's alive.
Okay. Babe Ruth for what? For his like,
Voice.
His voice? Who the
Yeah.
hell knows what Babe Ruth
So that
sounds?
latter part surprises me, the deceased individuals.
Yeah, that's all of their estates doing that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, and McConaughey's deal with this company is a little different because he's not giving his voice, he's not letting them use it the exact same way. He's actually an investor in this company. He's given them an undisclosed sum, and what he's able to get from this right now is that he has a newsletter called Lyrics of Living, because he's like a freaking live your best life type of guru guy, you know. I love Matthew McConaughey. I'm not knocking him. But that's something that he does, and with this, he's able to use his own voice to deliver that newsletter in foreign languages, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But this is a slippery slope, and it just seems like all actors are eventually they're gonna be wooed over by the money that AI companies will give them, not just for their voices but for their likenesses too. And all those people that are out there saying, no, we won't go, you can't use my face and voice and all that, they're gonna lose. Whenever humanity is presented with a terrible option, they always end up embracing it soon enough. So I don't know who the standouts are going to be, but I have a feeling they're going to lose this battle, and the studios are going to end up just having AI Matthew McConaughey in their movies, and they'll just cut him a little check, like maybe every time they use him, he gets like 5% of the royalties or something. I don't know. AI. I'm not as scared of it as I was like 2-3 years ago. Like,
Really?
I'm more scared of it outside the realm of entertainment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, let me say that. Within the realm of entertainment, I feel like things are so bad already that AI is either A, not going to make it worse, or B, maybe going to make it better. I don't know. But it's just such a wreck overall that I just don't care about the what AI could potentially do. Outside of entertainment, I'm very worried about it, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a fine line to toe in terms of entertainment, because it's like when you're going to supplant artists who have dedicated their lives, for example, just a traditional painter or something, I feel like that's not okay. But I don't know. And if the actors are okay with their likenesses just being generated in a film, and I guess that's on them. But I'm worried about just companies just doing away with the whole process and just generating films once the software gets to that point, and
They're gonna.
that's it.
They're
Even
gonna.
just writing scripts at this point.
Tyler Perry was on the verge of building enormous studio expansions down in Atlanta, and he stopped everything because he saw the writing on the wall with AI. And he's a frugal guy. He's a philanthropic guy, but he's also a very frugal one from everything I've heard and read. And if he can use AI to do what he does, he's going to do it, and he's going to save a lot of money. And we have our first AI animated movie coming out next year. I think it's called Critters or Critter, something like that. I can't remember. And it's coming. It is coming down the pike. On the best case scenario, it might be the kind of thing where it takes over visual effects, but not the entirety of live action photography. Which, is it even live action photography anymore if it's all conjured in a computer with AI? I don't know. But the best case scenario is that it will help stunts can be done with AI instead of people risking their lives, that kind of a thing, and visual effects, that would be nice. But if it's actually replacing actors, that's a bridge too far for me.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can always tell when something's AI, because if so, we can reject it. If we don't like it, we don't have to give our money to it. That's the only way it's going to lose, I'm afraid. Because Hollywood's going to be tempted, and they're going to do it. If they can save a buck, they are going to do it.
What's interesting is that because people have been so inundated with AI content on social media, they've almost gotten a nose for it, though.
Yeah.
And they can tell when something is AI generated and doesn't have the same soul as something that was, made with a human hand.
Do you guys get the same kind of things over and over again presented from AI?
Oh, yeah.
I think because the algorithm knows I love birds, the thing I get the most is like either a doctor or a cop interrogating a parrot. And the parrot's always a wiseacre saying funny shit back to the cop or the doctor. But I get like 10 of those every day now in my feeds on YouTube and Facebook.
I haven't seen that, but I tend to read a lot of Amazon like Kindle samples that come up my Facebook feed, and then if I like it, I'll purchase the physical book. That's just me though. But if I see one where it's obvious the cover art is AI generated, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but if you're using AI to generate your book cover, it can only tell me so much about how much effort you're willing to put into your writing, and so it's an instant pass for me if I see that. So.
I do a lot of writing for my work, for my day job, and there's been actual talk at my job about certifying things AI free because there's such a negative reaction. If you spend any time on Reddit and you look at like Reddit comments, people all the time are getting accused of, oh, you use ChatGPT to write this. It's obvious you use ChatGPT, and there's a big backlash behind that. And I think there's going to be the same thing with entertainment. I don't think anybody wants to see an all AI movie with an all AI actor, and I suspect that we're going to see content now having some kind of a badge that says certified AI free, just like something like cookies are gluten free. You're going to see content that's AI free.
Well, I've seen some film festivals already come out and say that they're not allowing any films that have used AI at all. They don't even want them using them to create their posters or marketing materials.
I've seen in the end credits of some films now, it'll say that this movie was made without AI. Which kind of brings me to another point. I guess there was the recent dinosaur film, Primitive War, which has done pretty well, but they got in some hot water because they used AI to generate concept art. And then on that front, it's like, yes, of course, I would prefer, a human concept artist to generate this. But I feel like in the conceptual phase, if you're coming up with concepts and you still have humans executing them, I feel like that's okay. But I would still prefer having traditional concept artists because, again, that soul factor is there. But
and indie artists are going to be very tempted to use AI because they don't have the money.
Yeah,
they don't have the money. Like I would be most tempted to use it in poster design and marketing images, the creation of that stuff, because that's stuff that's very valuable. And you really, if you had an infinite budget, you'd be giving good money to the artists that create that stuff, because that's how most people, they discover and find your movie that way. It's very, very critical, but it costs money, and it's usually money you don't have at the end of the process of making the movie. So AI is a controversial thing that I think is going to probably pop up in our headlines from time to time. But that's enough of it tonight. That's enough of it tonight. We're going to go on to Allison Mack. I was so blown away when this news hit.
Yeah.
Like, was it 12, 15 years ago?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story.
She, Kristen Kruk, her co-star on Smallville, took her to a meeting with this Nexium self-help group, and it just spiraled. Kristen ended up leaving the group. I guess she was eventually to the point where she's like, y'all are nuts. But man, poor Allison Mack was just brainwashed by this evil Keith Raniere guy that led the cult. And she ended up being his second in command.
And it sounded like kind of like a sex cult. and they were like getting branded, like getting his initials
Allison
branded.
Mack was in charge of the branding.
Yeah.
Now, she didn't do any of this on her own that I can tell. I watched a big documentary on HBO about this cult, and they had almost everyone but Allison Mack and Keith Raniere participating in that. But this new podcast, I've seen the first 2 episodes, and we're going to talk about it in just a second. And like, to me, it's clear that she was coerced into doing all of it. Like, it was never her idea. She was just used by this Raniere guy. And cults, when this happened, I was like, I loved Chloe Sullivan on Smallville. I watched all of Smallville. It is not a great show, but I had to watch the whole dang thing. Partly because the cast was so charismatic, and she was one of the main characters that I really loved. She was my favorite character, actually. So when I heard she was like arrested for being part of a sex cult, I was like,
Yeah.
and I've been dying to hear from her ever since that happened. She was released from prison in 2023 for racketeering and conspiracy charges related to her involvement with Nexium, which a lot of people are calling a sex cult because it was basically grooming a bunch of women to have sex with the cult's leader, Keith Raniere. She was in charge of a group of slave women. Like, they even called them slaves. She was their master, and all these other women were her slaves. And she branded them all above their hoo-has. I think they call it the pelvic area. I say hoo-ha, hoo-ha.
That would be the clinical term.
The hoo-ha, the hoo-ha area. They branded it with a hot, like, pen, and it was a symbol that contained Keith Raniere's initials. And if you watch the documentary on HBO, it also looks like it has Allison Mack's initials, but she contests that. But anyway, she's finally speaking out in a 7-part podcast on Spotify. I listened to the first 2 episodes. They're like 30 to 40 minutes each last week, and I think the 3rd is coming out in the next few days if it hasn't already. And I'm just fascinated by it. Cults, to me, are utterly fascinating. I can't get enough of it. What do you guys think? What do you want to say? How do you want to button up the Allison Mack Chronicles? How can you?
How can you? I don't know. I don't. The psychology behind it is fascinating to me. I don't understand. Some things make sense. Like people looking for, like the what was the cult that where they all the ones that they thought they were going to space and they all committed suicide. It was in California. What was that one called?
Wasn't that Heaven's Gate?
Heaven's Gate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Heaven's Gate cult. They were just like looking for something to belong to, but this one makes way less sense to me. Like, I can't really wrap my mind around this one.
Well, they all really believed that this Keith Raniere guy was the smartest guy on Earth, and that he was helping them all with the problems that they were having psychologically. And I think to some extent there was some actual psychology that works that he was using. The best lies are wrapped in a little bit of truth,
Yeah.
So they got something out of it early on, but when an evil person like this Keith Raniere, or like Jonestown, that guy, when they know what you're hungry for, what you're looking for, they can really manipulate you, and they can get their claws into you and ruin your life. I heard that she was making, I think she said in one of these podcasts that on Smallville she was making $40,000 a week, because that show did gangbuster numbers. Whether you like the show or not, it was a very popular, lucrative show. And I think he sucked all her money away in the end. So anyway, if you're interested in the Allison Mack Nexium Chronicles, she is finally speaking out, and it's on Spotify.
And if you're into doomsday cults, you can buy a storage container for as little as $2,300 and build a bunker.
You're going to start selling some corn and grain here, Ben? Let's move on to happier, potentially. A headline, V for Vendetta is going to series at HBO. Or is it? It's in development at HBO. Pete Jackson is writing it. It's not Peter Jackson. It just said Pete, so I'm assuming that's a different person. And James Gunn and Peter Safran at DC Studios are executive producing. I am sure Alan Moore, the original creator of V for Vendetta, is very pleased that this is going to production. No, he's not. He hates every time something he did is done for a TV or a movie. He hates it. So this is another headline that I was like, is it really going to happen? Because Warner Brothers is for sale, and if someone buys it and they don't like the idea of doing this, they could squash it. It makes me wonder, why is Warner Brothers even making announcements right now, right before they sell? Because that sale is like imminent.
And maybe it's strategic. Maybe they're making these announcements to, like, sweeten the pot. I don't know.
Yeah, generate hype and up the price.
Generate hype. And I feel like there's that Alien series that just got renewed. I feel like maybe
Disney.
I think these studios maybe are seeing more potential in these series based on like tried and true IP, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why.
I don't either. I saw V for Vendetta the movie.
Yeah,
I liked it. I didn't like it enough to ever want to see it again, though. I know it's got kind of a cult status, though.
Yeah, it hit my generation like a bomb, and then it just kind of dropped off. And then you saw different IPs kind of with the same message, or in my opinion, or at least similar imagery, like with Joker, where this big revolution and everybody's running around with masks, and even Mr. Robot, like I mentioned before, the same thing. But I hardly hear this film like mentioned anymore, so I was a little bit excited to see this TV series, but cautiously optimistic in the process.
We'll see what happens, I guess, if it happens. Our last little headline for the night is, I hesitated whether to bring this up, but the Star Wars Insider. The print version is ending early next year. There has been some version of this publication since 1978. So it's really kind of the end of an era.
yeah.
The editor of the current editor of the publication, his name's Christopher Cooper. He says that it's because publishing has increasingly gotten digital, and that they're just changing with the times by getting rid of the print edition. And certainly that happens a lot. But at the same time, I'm wondering, this should have died a long time ago with the digital wave of journalism.
Well,
it tells me that it was doing well enough for a long time, including after Disney bought the franchise, but now there's less people. So I'm kind of torn. Do you guys think that this is a sign of journalism all going digital, or a sign that Star Wars has kind of lost its mojo as a franchise?
I think this magazine is kind of like a unique, like in print publishing, it holds like a unique place because this falls into the collector's market. People collect these.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I think I own a couple of copies.
So I imagine that it was probably artificially kind of buoyed, kind of held up by the collector's market. And now that there's just not a whole lot going on with Star Wars really at the moment, there's just not a lot to prop it up.
Nothing enticing. Yeah.
Nothing enticing.
They've got Mandalorian and Grogu coming out next May. I think that's and they've got they've got one with Ryan Gosling. I can't remember what it's called, but that's also in the works, like for sure in the works, because Disney announces all kinds of stuff that doesn't happen.
Right.
But Mandalorian and Grogu and this one with Ryan Gosling, they're like in production. So they're going to happen. So we'll see if they can overcome the Star Wars doldrums that we've been in for a few years.
No, like I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I had to pass on Andor. I know a lot of people liked Andor, but that first season, like, there was just so much screen time dedicated to the random security guard eating cereal and getting berated by his mother for how much of a loser he is. It had nothing to do with the rest of the show. And I'm like, what is this?
I think if you passed on Andor, you passed on probably the best thing that Disney has put out Star Wars wise, and the most.
I've heard that from a number of people.
I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, it's Star Wars. It's like the mature Star Wars and all that." And it's like I really like that angle when like IP goes for a more mature angle, goes with its audience or whatever. But I feel like they missed the mark with that one. There was just so many, like Mon Mothma's like divorce or whatever. I want to see that. Like Star Wars has always been that adventure serial, like as an SERIAL adventure serial, sort of like Flash Gordon kind of style adventures. Like escape those things, I guess. I mean, I do want a darker Star Wars movie, and I thought that the Acolyte was going to be that. It was supposed to be. It was marketed as being told from the dark side, and I thought it was going to be that, but it obviously failed horribly.
One
That
day
all
I'm
being
going to
said-
watch The Acolyte. One day I'm going to watch it, but everything I've seen and heard about it is that it's literally one of the worst audio-visual experiences you can have in your life.
Yeah.
So I'm like really trying to brace myself for something that's going to be just awful.
Yeah, no, it was pretty rough, and they even got the guy from Squid Games, the main character, in it, and it just seemed like he was struggling with.
I heard
material.
all the acting was just really bad.
Yeah, it was rough. It had some good combat choreography. Like I said, we got that nailed in this generation, if nothing else. But
This is one of many signs that Disney needs new leadership. I respect the hell out of Kathleen Kennedy for her legacy. She has helped produce more movies that meant something to my generation than probably anyone else. But to me, it's become clear that maybe she's not the best person to be running Lucasfilm right now. And not only that, but I think Pixar needs new management. Disney Animation needs new management. The parks need to be kept better. I think Bob Iger, he needs to step aside. They need a shakeup in that company, because that company owns way too many IPs, intellectual properties, to like be coasting on fumes like this.
In regards to Star Wars, I saw something interesting the other day that kind of made sense to me, which was that everybody who's in charge of Star Wars right now is somebody who, experienced Star Wars like 1977 and 80 and 81 and all that, and that they need people to take over who didn't experience Star Wars that way. Because
Maybe.
there's too much that's like kind of beholden to a.
I'm not sure how much of their fan base is younger than Gen X, though. I know Ben.
Well, and that's the problem. I think
They're losing young people.
they are losing young people.
Disney's losing young people all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they want to stay relevant and have any kind of a future, they need to really try and figure out why young people love anime. They need to be acquiring anime properties, if anything.
they did so well with The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I know.
And I feel like that was because they brought in some real like lore masters to put together the story for that one and bring it to life. And I feel like it brought those elements of the Star Wars expanded universe that are actually really cool, that most people are like, oh, you're such a nerd reading the expanded universe books or whatever. But there's actually some really great ideas in there that they brought to the fore. And then it just kind of, I don't know what's been happening in the meantime.
Well, Jon Favreau was the showrunner for Mandalorian,
Yeah,
which
I know
went
he
off
was
the
good.
rails in his third season. I didn't watch the third season. I quit after season 2. But he's also directing the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, so
Okay. Yeah, I understand he was one of the lore masters, and then there was some kind of conflict. I could be wrong, between him and producers. I don't know if they felt like they were being overshadowed by the fact that, the Star Wars fandom values the knowledge of that lore more than whatever approach they're trying to bake into the newer films and productions. So,
well, I know how much the three of us all love Star Wars. Dave and I grew up with it, and I know Ben loves it as much or more than we do.
yeah,
For some unknown reason.
I was a prequel trilogy kid, more or less, but I actually
Poor
grew up
thing.
on A New Hope. I watched A New Hope on repeat on tape as a kid, and I never watched the other two in the original trilogy until I was in middle school, I think, much later. But
That's weird, because I don't remember seeing A New Hope. I know I was in the theater, but I was like 5. And I remember seeing Empire and Jedi over and over again as a kid. Those are the two I loved. I hardly ever watched A New Hope. But we're going to have a Star Wars show at some point to really kind of address our fascination with that whole thing.
Empire is my favorite of the bunch, and
Next week. We're talking about it next week.
and A New Hope. I mean, I love it, but
yeah.
but Luke is so whiny. He's such a whiny little bitch. in A New Hope.
If you had to pick a downside to A New Hope, which I just like to call Star Wars, that might be one. But to me, Star Wars and Empire are both 10s, and Jedi's a 9. Like, I can't hate on Jedi. I was 9 when it came out, and it was a big freaking deal to me. So let's move on, though, before we fall deeper into a Star Wars hole, which I predict will be something we will always be at peril of doing. because we really do love classic Star Wars. Let's move on to home video announcements. There weren't a whole lot since the last show, but there are some, and we're going to address them. One is Severin Films putting out a Bay of Blood on Black Friday, just a couple of weeks from now. This has a 5-disc set. The 5th disc, I think, is the soundtrack to the movie on CD. The other discs, though, include 3 versions of the movie: the English release, the original Italian release, and the Italian re-release. So, my God, if this movie's one of your favorites, it sounds like Severin is putting out like the ultimate definitive edition. Has anyone seen this? I have not seen very many Mario Bava movies.
I have not seen this one, but I do know of the prowess of Mario Bava.
I think if any of us is going to see this first, it's probably going to be
It's going to be Ben.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to watch the
release,
Italian
though.
version.
I haven't been following Severin as closely lately, so I didn't know about this release.
Well, it just got announced within the last week. Dogma's coming out December 9th. This has been announced on
Recently, yeah.
Lionsgate Limited for a few weeks now, but they just announced a regular standard version that's also going to be available on December 9. It's a 4K restoration. It's got Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. It's got some new special features that you can see itemized on the screen right now. And at the same time, if you would rather have a fancier version, then you can get this steelbook with a slipcover on Lionsgate Limited's website. The wide version is available like everywhere, that one. But this one you have to go to Lionsgate Limited's website to purchase. And I would do it soon, because I bet this is something that's going to sell out if it hasn't already. Incidentally, the Descent that we reviewed last week, it's apparently not available on their website right now, so it might be sold out, or they might be waiting for another supply of it to come in.
I know you don't love this movie, but I'm
It's
pretty
all right,
excited.
though.
I'm pretty excited about this. I will probably buy it.
What I remember loving is George Carlin.
Yeah.
That's what I remember loving the most.
It's definitely Kevin Smith's most, I think, his most commercial movie, but
Maybe.
it's one of my favorites of his. So
Kevin Smith is one of those people that I love him a little more than I love his movies.
that's absolutely true.
My favorite Kevin Smith movies are his later horror movies, Red State and Tusk.
Yeah.
I thought those were his most remarkable films.
Tusk is so freaky.
It's weird as shit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's just so balls to the wall bonkers that I have to give him kudos for that.
Yeah.
And then here's some stuff that I bet a lot of our viewers aren't going to give a crap about, but I'm excited because right up there at the top is an Errol Flynn movie, and I love Errol Flynn. I buy all Errol Flynn movies when they come to Blu-ray or 4K, and they are going back to the original Technicolor masters for a remaster of San Antonio. So I am pre-ordering that one. All of these other movies, though, I have not seen, and therefore do not care so much about. Although it is nice that they are continuing to release Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into Wally Gator or Lippy the Lion there, you can get that shit from Warner Archives. And I do have to remind everyone, God bless Warner Archives, because if nobody else puts your shit out, Warner Archives will. They're kind of like Kino Lorber that way. All of these are coming December 16th. And then we've got something that Ben wanted to talk about. This would never have been on my radar. So, Ben, tell us about this filth called Blood Brothers and Baked Baby Jesus.
I like it already.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that we probably shouldn't use this cover, that the slip cover was probably a little better for the podcast. But
We'll talk about it quickly then so I can put it
yeah,
off screen.
yeah, so basically, and also the baby Jesus part was not a tie-in to the devil theme here. That was an accident. But no, this film caught my attention, not just because of the cover art, but because there are films that were produced by Mike Diana. And now Mike Diana was, he has the dubious moniker of being the first artist to be jailed for obscenity in the United States. And that isn't necessarily to say that his art was just so horrific or atrocious to actually merit that. This happened in the early 90s. One day he got pulled over by a cop, whatever, random traffic infraction. And they found copies of his zine, they call it, on the back of his car. Now, a zine was kind of DIY magazines that people would do back in the day.
We know what zines are.
We know what.
Yeah,
they are.
yeah. I'm just explaining for the benefit of the audience, but
They know too.
yeah. Okay, but so he had this zine in the back of his car, and it had a lot of like shocking imagery to it that, and was a reflection of what he saw as the hypocrisy in this Roman Catholic community that he lived in Florida, specifically Largo, Florida. So a little while later, he gets contacted by the state attorney in Florida, and it's told he's being charged with obscenity for his artwork, and that he actually became a person of interest just because he had these zines in the back of his car with the Gainesville murders that were going on in Florida at that time. He was cleared through a blood test, but then he got these obscenities charges afterward. And it was a week-long trial, and they found him guilty on 3 counts. They took him to jail immediately, and it wasn't just like the local lockup. It was a penitentiary, and he spent 4 days there, and I believe he had gotten out on bond. And afterward, he had 3 years of probation. He had a $3,000 fine, and he had to take a journalism ethics class on his own cost. And he had to get random inspections from the police over that course of that 3-year probation to make sure he wasn't creating more artwork and having it in his home. This is the first time that had happened in American history. And yeah, since then, he was friends with Frank Henenlotter. At some point, they developed a friendship, and he would just go to, and Frank Henenlotter being the director of like Frankenhooker and Basket Case and other exploitation classics like that. And he just happened to mention, he's like, oh, I got locked up for obscenity one time. And Henenlotter's like, what? And he told him the story, and they made a documentary about it called Boiled Angels. Now, what's weird is that this documentary has just kind of disappeared off the internet. There's listings on Amazon, Google Play, etc., but it just says that the license has expired. I reached out to the distributor. They just gave me a basic boilerplate response. They no longer distribute it, but it's just oddly disappeared off the face of the earth, despite the fact that this is a really major thing that, in America, there have been a number of obscenity cases related to art, but they've more or less have erred on the side of protecting the artist. That did not happen in this case. So
what I'm hearing is that a movie like Back to the Future will come out, and you don't even care enough to see it. But if you can't get some filth like this, you go straight to the distributor.
Now, that being said, it's like, I believe that work like this is important. On its face, people might think it's just shock for the sake of shock or just puerile. But I think it's an important form of resistance. And in the case of the context of when he made these comics, when he made these films, there was this strong, like the whole satanic panic scare that was going on in the country, propelled by evangelical forces and sometimes the corporate interests that came along with that in the case of megachurches and that. Before that, there was a tradition of obscene comics, if you will, the underground comics, spelled with an X, in San Francisco in the 60s and 70s, which was a major movement and representative of the countercultural aspect of comics history. And that should have carried over, because they had their issues with the law, but they were never prosecuted like this. And so I think this is just
well, someone has to set the example. So apparently Mike Diana was the one.
Well, not necessarily, because
I haven't seen the movie, but after I do,
yeah.
God, I hope I don't have to watch this.
Specific to this,
but if I do, maybe I'll agree. I don't know. Probably
specific
not.
To this film collection, so these are a collection of SOV films, which was a whole other trend from the 90s once home video recorders became more accessible to consumers. Yeah, basically backyard films that you make with your friends. These are films that he did with the themes that he believed were important to express artistically. And Vinegar Syndrome's putting them out in a whole collection. Let me pull up the specs here. So these were films that were produced between 1987 and 1990. Total running time of 209 minutes. It's a region-free Blu-ray.
Did you say 209 minutes?
Yes, you did.
So that includes 2 feature films, Blood Brothers, and Baked Baby Jesus, along with short films with new intros, other Blu-ray features like an outtakes reel, which I imagine there's probably a lot. Blood Family Diary featuring Mike Diana and his mother, brother, sister, and nephew discussing the making of his films.
At least it's a family affair.
Yeah. Moving to Florida, a discussion between Mike Diana and Dead Formats convention organizer Noel Huffman. One Man Crew, a discussion between Mike Diana and filmmaker Victor Bonagor. The Horror Host Generation, a discussion between Mike Diana and artist filmmaker John Michael McCarthy. The Nasty 90s, a video essay by Mike Hunchback, which Mike Hunchback was one of the producers on the documentary. Worth mentioning. I just hope like there's some long shot somebody associated with the documentary will hear this and help me find a way to watch it, because literally just contacting the distributor led me nowhere. But Unsung Horrors podcast with Erica Schultz and Lance Shibby on Blood Brothers. Audio commentary on Blood Brothers and Baked Baby Jesus by Mike Diana, Noel Huffman, and Mike Hunchback. And a 32-page booklet by Mike Diana with artifacts and comics, which the latter part is super cool. And there's English subtitles. You don't always get that in SOV films. So.
Well,
have you tried one of these?
Wow, well, thanks. I'll give it a whirl.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Scott is going to add this immediately to the end of his
sight unseen. Sight unseen, and I will pay the exorbitant $50 to $70 Vinegar Syndrome prices for this too.
I think Mike Diana had a similar conversation when he was in prison. I was watching an interview where he was saying that he was locked up alongside murderers and rapists, and they were asking him like, "Well, what do you do to get here?" And he's like, "I drew some pictures," and that was all he could tell them.
Well, the history of it sounds fascinoning.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
Don't make me watch this movie, Ben. I gotta draw the line somewhere. I still need to see some Best Picture Oscar winners before I see this one.
Let's go to soundtracks.
Okay. Enough with Baked Baby Jesus. We've got some no soundtracks yet. We've got some Kino Lorber releases. They're putting out the movie that sounds like Kotex and Tampax. But it's neither of those, it's K-Pax. And it looks like it's got a bunch of old special features coming January 6th. And then some more smut that only Ben will love coming out February 24.
I think it's this one and the other.
Is this their third Ilsa movie?
I think so, yeah.
They've put out the other two already. You're hoping for a box set.
Yeah. They said there's going to be a box set next year, so they're putting them out individually for now. There's some logistical reason why they couldn't do the box set up front, but so I'm holding out for that one.
There is no logistical reason. They just know that you'll buy them individually and then buy the box set
I have
too.
it. I'm holding out, so we'll see.
But you can get Ilsa, the third film, in all of its 4K glory in February. And Roof Man is coming out on 4K from Paramount on January 20th. And Warner Brothers is putting out One Battle After Another, which is looking to be an Oscar contender, on January 20th. And then the last movie announcement is this one. And the only reason I bring this one up is because I don't think I'd ever heard of it. And it kind of sounds interesting to me.
Pack Rats.
Pack Rats? What's that mean?
Isn't that what that says?
No, it says Patty Rocks.
Oh, Patty Rocks.
Put your glasses on, Dave.
It's very tiny on my screen. It's just this big.
It's called Patty Rocks, from a director named David Burton Morris, starring Chris Mulkey, John Jenkins, and a bunch of other people I don't know. It's expected to come in early 2026, but the synopsis is Billy Regis, a serial philanderer with an especially foul mouth, is less than delighted to hear that his downriver girlfriend, Patty Rocks, is pregnant with his child. To complicate matters, Billy has neglected to inform Patty about his wife and kids in Minneapolis. A frantic Billy persuades his straight-laced best friend, Eddie Hassett, to come with him on a debauched overnight road trip to find Patty, admit his sins, and persuade her to have an abortion. I almost wrote a screenplay that sounds a lot like this movie. So I'm interested in this because I've never heard of it. I've never heard of Fun City Editions, the people putting it out. It's not 4K, it's Blu-ray only. But this sounds like an obscure film that's on my radar now. Anyway, if anyone's seen it, please feel free to say something about it in the comments because I would love to know some more about it. But if it's not exorbitantly priced, I might just buy it outright and give it a whirl next year. You guys haven't heard of it, right?
No, but it does sound interesting. Yeah, sounds cool.
It's not dirty enough for Ben.
No.
All right, we can do soundtracks now. There are only two, and that is Varese Sarabande has announced their next CD Club titles. I remember when Varese Sarabande CD titles were exciting and a big deal, and it just seems like since they were bought by a big company several years ago that they just haven't been spending much money to acquire any interesting titles. But if you're a Jerry Goldsmith fan, and there are a lot of them, Medicine Man's getting the expanded deluxe treatment, as is Brian Tyler's Timeline. You can pre-order these now at Varese Sarabande's website, and they ship January 16. Then we have books. Ben brought to my attention these Event Horizon comic books that are a sequel to the original movies.
Well, so they're actually a prequel, but apparently they're going to set up a sequel, and I don't know if that's in cooperation with a studio or what. But yeah, I've been subscribed to this series. I had a little bit of an interruption in my pull list because we moved cities, and the new comic shop is a little weird about ordering my comics. But in any case,
because they're smutty and dirty. Do you get dirty books?
No, they actually said this is a pretty popular one, and that they'd have to get sort of cycle. They couldn't get it for me the week of release because they had to do pre-orders as far back as October. So yeah, I read the first two issues. It's really interesting. They set up all of the crew members of the original Event Horizon mission, and this kind of like plugs into what fans of this film have been wanting for a long time. There's some footage that almost has urban legend status where it depicts the original crew members in that extra dimension of hell. And, so Event Horizon, quickly summarized, is the first faster than light travel ship makes its first jump. And in the process, it crosses through a dimension akin to hell. And the whole ship becomes haunted and possessed, for lack of a better description. And this shows what happens to them while they're in that hell dimension. And what's interesting is it has a little bit of crossover with Hereditary, which I was not expecting in terms of which demonic entities cross over from that portal. But it sets up all of the different crew members. I can't remember how specifically they were outlined in the film itself, but they set them up, and just in the spirit of the film, it underscores the traumas that they had before signing up. And the artwork is great, which is always a plus with modern comics. I usually skew more toward reading comics from the 80s and tie-ins from like the 90s Dark Horse, like Aliens, Predator, Terminator series. Because lately, I don't want to say they get lazy, because I'm sure it's just a circumstance of the industry where you just have to use a lot of digital computer-generated artwork, not AI yet. But
so basically, if you liked the movie, you might like the comic book.
Yeah, this is going to scratch that itch for what exactly happened.
I kind of liked the movie
before the events of the film, and apparently it sets up for a sequel. That's like the headlines we're talking about that I sent you, Scott. But
I don't know what it would take for me to pick up a comic book. I really don't. I don't like video games, and I don't like comic books. I'm just a weird person.
Boo.
There's also a Frankenstein book. If you're a big fan of what Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein put in your eyes and your ears last week, there's I think it's $75. It's available now on Amazon and assuming at other places. It looks fancy. There's collectibles coming out. You can get a Frankenstein statue at monstersinmotion.com right now. It's $255. That is like 2 weeks worth of groceries. And it ships a year from now. It ships next October. So I don't know. There are people out there who have the money, and God bless them.
And then there's us.
We can maybe afford this $100 talking sloth doll from the Goonies. Also available at monstersinmotion.com, shipping in April, which is a little bit more reasonable. I love the Goonies, But I do not want this ugly ass thing in my house. You guys? Would
No.
you have a talking sloth doll?
No,
No.
I think I'm good.
Somebody out there is going to want this. That's why we're mentioning it. But this next one, this is cool. At store.ign.com, you can, for $50 each, pre-order these figures right now from the Rankin Bass animated version of The Hobbit that came out in the late 70s. The first one, Bilbo, is going to ship in the second quarter of next year, and Gollum, with his little fish there, is going to ship in the third quarter. For $50, I'm almost ready to pull the trigger on these because I adore that animated Hobbit from beginning to end, all the folk music, Rankin Bass. Man, I love that shit. I would love for this to get the HD treatment on Blu-ray or 4K too, for that matter. But I think I'm going to end up with these on my shelf.
Yeah,
They look nice.
These are more in our budget.
Yeah, and affordable. They're vinyl. So that is the end of the collectibles segment. We are now going to take our look at coming attractions. Guys, when I think of Wicked, when I just think about it, I almost feel my penis turn into a vagina.
Oh my God.
Okay, that's a good turn.
What the hell?
Now, I'm not sexist. I love a lot of chick flicks, but there's something about Wicked that just rubs me the wrong way. You would have to drag me kicking and screaming to see either the first movie that came out last year or the sequel, Wicked for Good, that comes out Friday. I've heard they're good from people I respect and whose opinions I admire. They say it's great. And maybe it's the case that I would see it and like it, but my goodness, I think I'd rather have a root canal.
I'm going to say two things. I'm going to say that I don't think you would like it, and I'm going to say that it was one of my favorite movies last year.
Well, you know me fairly well, so I think that's comforting to know that maybe I'm okay then if I just never see it.
I think it's fine if you skip it. However, I thought it was one of the best movies I saw last year.
Man, that makes me curious, though.
It's probably a given, but it rubbed me the wrong way too. I saw this trailer when I went to go see. What did I go see recently? It was in the theater. Oh, Predator. So it was playing.
That's
I
a
was
weird
like,
thing to...
yeah, it was in the trailers before Predator started. But
I saw a trailer for this Sisu movie in front of.
I saw that
Predator.
too at the Predator. Yeah.
I never saw the first Sisu, so I am not planning to see the second one until someday. Maybe I see the first one. You guys know about that movie at all?
I don't. I just know it's kind of like a World War II John Wick. Although I know this one is post-war, and it's against the Soviets instead of the Nazis. And
Well, they're counting on Wicked to be a big money earner, but I'm not hearing a lot of buzz about it. So I don't know if it's going to make as much money as they're wanting it to or not.
They may not. I mean, they may not feel like they need to market it a whole lot because the first one did really well, right? So
I think it made money.
yeah, it made money.
So y'all can see Wicked. Dave, if you see Wicked 2, you can review it on the show.
Wicked 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'll be there.
If Dave sees it, we'll have it for a review. Maybe not on the next show since that's our 1980 show, or maybe we'll squeeze it in. We'll talk about it.
I mean, I will say I did like the idea of Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz.
I love Jeff Goldblum in anything.
Yeah.
But other than
love
that, it
Jeff
just
Goldblum.
felt like, I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of this get off my lawn syndrome where it's just like the original Wizard of Oz doesn't need to be added
Love
on
it.
to.
Yeah, I'm not. The singing sounds like talk singing to me. I don't like it when people talk sing. I like sing, not talk sing.
You're just making up shit now.
Anyway, maybe I'll see it someday and I'll love it. But man, tough pill to swallow. And then these other two films are coming out next week that I know very little about. The Rental Family is Brendan Fraser, though. So if you're a Brendan Fraser fan, this is his new movie. I think he like goes to Japan and like his job is like posing as like someone's friend or family member over there, like I don't know, like a G-rated escort or something. I could be wrong. And this Tom Felton movie called Altered, I don't know a thing about, but it sure looks direct to video to me.
It does.
So what I'm hearing is Dave may see Wicked, and that might be all that we're planning to take in next weekend. Am I right about that?
Yes.
All
Sounds
right.
about right.
Then we will switch over to a 4K review. So, U-571 is a submarine action thriller movie that came out in the year 2000. I just got the 4K Steelbook. It is available in also a standard version that you see on the right there. The Steelbook is on the left. I don't know if that's my favorite cover art, but yeah, it's not bad. It is what it is. With the 4K releases, I do like to address the packaging first. So there's some more pictures of what it looks like, inside and out. And then there's a list of the special features, which are mostly just stuff from past editions ported over to this one. It does not have a new Dolby Atmos track, which is something people cry about, but I will tell you this is an awesome 5.1 track. It did not leave me wanting for anything. I don't need a Dolby Atmos when your 5.1 is this damn good. This movie won the Oscar for sound effects editing. Yes, it did. And it was nominated for sound design. So it is a movie that sounds absolutely spectacular. This might be one of my top 10 movies that I've seen in my home theater, because there are a lot of scenes when you're on the submarine and the creaking and the popping and just the sounds of the pressure of the water putting upon the submarine kind of goes all around you. And then there are like 2 or 3 sequences where the Germans are dropping depth charges. And so everyone's still, and you're hearing like a depth charge go off on the left and then a depth charge on the right, and some go off behind you and in front of you. So it's an immersive soundtrack, and I love immersive surround soundtracks no matter how many channels they are. So this 5.1 gets an A for me in sound. The picture quality is good. This isn't a really crisp looking movie. So if you're just into real sharp looking stuff, some shots are a little hazier than others, but it looks really good. The color's good. The black levels are good. I didn't think it was a revelation, but it's more than likely an upgrade from the Blu-ray, which I don't have and could not compare. But this 4K disc did not leave me wanting for anything in terms of picture and sound. I did not check out any of the special features yet, but I assume that they are pretty decent. As far as reviewing this movie, I'm going to bring up some imagery of it. Here you go. It came out in 2000. It's directed by Jonathan Mostow, who also directed Breakdown with Kurt Russell and Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, which kind of sucked, but we'll just skip over that right now. It's basically about a German submarine that gets stranded in the middle of the ocean during World War II, and it's got aboard this, what do they call it? A device that can decode machines. It's called an Enigma cipher machine. So when the U.S. hears that this submarine is stranded in need of repairs before it can move, and that it's got this cipher machine on it, they send Matthew McConaughey and Harvey Keitel and freaking Bon Jovi is in this movie.
Yeah, Bon Jovi's in this movie.
They send those guys. Bill Paxton's their boss. He goes out with them too, actually. They all go out to basically pose as Germans and board this German submarine so they can get their hands on this cipher machine. But as soon as they get aboard, their U.S. submarine blows up because the Germans attack and blow it up. So then our heroes are stuck on this German submarine with the cipher machine that they were wanting. And it's like not in great shape, and they've got to like get out of hostile waters on this submarine while the Germans are like dropping depth charges and trying to kill them. It's a tense movie. It's an exciting movie. I really enjoy watching it. It's one of those movies I saw in the theater, then I caught again on DVD, I don't know, 10, 15 years later. And then I just saw it again for like the third time within the last few days. It's never dull. These actors are all great. There's Keith David there that you might remember from An Officer and a Gentleman. It's also got Jake Weber and Jack Noseworthy. We were just talking about Event Horizon. Jack Noseworthy is one of the crew members in Event Horizon. And the only thing that wasn't perfect for me was the score, because I love scores, and this one's a little bit too patriotic at times. I like my war movies a little less like I don't know, yay military. But whenever the action and suspense is going on, the composer Richard Marvin does a good job. I think it's a pretty solid, really fun, action-oriented thriller, and if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, I give it an 8, and I recommend it. Have either of you guys seen U571?
I have seen it. Yeah.
I haven't.
What are
but
your
I
thoughts?
Absolutely need to.
Yeah, you love war movies, Ben, so you might check it out. Dave, do you remember it well enough to add anything to the review?
I do remember the sound being exceptional, and I would also probably be right there with you on the 8. So
Dave would also give it an 8. I like submarine movies. For some reason, I never cared about war movies when I was younger, but I guess I hit 40 or something. And like all of a sudden, I just love. I'm 51 now, but it happened like 10 or 12 years ago that I really just started loving World War II and Vietnam and war movies. I guess when I was younger, I thought they were just macho bullshit.
it's like those insurance commercials or whatever it is, where like people like become their parents.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden Scott's watching submarine movies.
But they're not macho. Like, there really is character development. When it comes to all male character ensemble type movies, there's a lot in what is not said.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words, and I think when I was younger, I didn't pick up on what was not said because it's kind of subtle. But I love I don't know, there's kind of the chivalry and bromance type stuff sometimes happens in these kinds of movies, and I just think they're a lot of fun, and it's also a time that we have not experienced. I don't know that, I mean, our world is not a good, happy place right now, but I don't know that we'll ever have warfare again like we did in the 30s and 40s, like hand-to-hand combat aboard a submarine or like,
Uniform.
we got drones now.
Yeah, probably not cinematic warfare anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, U571, if you've never seen it, there's a nice new 4K with a good picture quality and outstanding 5.1 surround, and you should check it out. And is that going
to be showing at Shermer Cinema sometime soon?
Well, I watched it by myself already, but if you want to come and watch it, Dave, you just let me know when.
Because I'd come watch it just to hear the sound on your sound.
Oh, I bet that would be amazing.
Well, there also was a second movie I wasn't anticipating getting in time for this show, but since it came, I went ahead and watched it last night, and we can talk about it now, too. This is the Oscar winner from 1975, Best Picture, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I've got some pictures of the packaging here as well. Warner Brothers is putting this one out. It released on last Tuesday, I think was November 11, and they put out two versions, a steelbook that you see on the left and the standard version that you see on the right. And the steelbook, actually, both of these have kind of weird cover art, and I've seen a lot of people complain about the cover art for these, and Warner Brothers is famous for doing bad cover art in recent years, but I have to say that this movie has never had a great poster or good cover art or key art ever, and I dare say that these two covers are actually probably the best it's ever had. So I don't mind the artwork, but I did opt for the steelbook version because I'm a collector and I love steelbooks. I don't care what other people say. There are a lot of haters out there, but I love them. That's what it looks like when you open it up and look at the front and back, and that's what it looks like. You get to see all of the cuckoos in therapy there. It has some new special features, 2 short, like, Zoom calls. It's a Zoom call with Michael Douglas, who produced the movie. He was a producer before he was an actor. And it's also got Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito, and Brad Dourif. So the 4 of them reminisce over 2 short featurettes. One's 13 minutes, one's 10 minutes. And those were fun. I watched those because I'd never seen them before. These 4 guys are really getting up there in age, so something tells me this could be one of the last times that they speak out in any kind of significant way on this film. A lot of the other people who participated in this movie have passed away, including Louise Fletcher, who won the Oscar as Nurse Ratched. It also has a really long feature-length documentary called Completely Cuckoo, And if you have a previous edition of this movie that contained a 45-minute making of, just know that that 45-minute making of on your old edition is actually an abbreviated version of this completely cuckoo feature-length documentary. So you're not missing anything. You're actually getting an expanded version of that older documentary. It was made in 1997, and there's also some deleted scenes. It does not have the commentary track with Milos Forman. For some reason, the older editions have that commentary track, so if you do upgrade, you might want to hold on to that old edition if you value that commentary track with Milos, because he passed away and he ain't going to be doing no more commentary tracks on this movie. Picture-wise, this movie is not a revelation. It's a movie from the 70s. It's a very grainy-looking film, but it looks good. It's true. It's accurate to what that film is supposed to look like. I've seen some other people cry about the black levels not being that good, and that there being a lot of noise in the dark parts of the image. None of that detracted from my experience when I watched it just last night. The sound is, they have a 5.1 track, and it's totally serviceable. It's not very immersive at very many times. There may be 3 or 4 times I noticed sounds going past me in my home theater, but it's not the kind of movie that you need that kind of thing for. This movie has fine sound with its 5.1, and it's got good picture quality. It's the best the movie's ever probably looked or sounded. So I recommend getting one of these new 4K versions, either the Steelbook or the Standard Edition, if you value this film as I do, as I think this is a very excellent film. It won 5 Oscars: Best Picture, Director for Milos Forman, Best Actor for Jack Nicholson, Best Actress in a Leading Role for Louise Fletcher. For some reason, I thought she won supporting, but it was leading. And it also won for Adapted Screenplay. It was based on a play, and I think the play might also have been based on a book, but I could be wrong about that. In addition to those awards, it was also nominated for Brad Dourif's supporting performance as Billy, Haskell Wexler and Bill Butler's cinematography. It was nominated for film editing, which I think in a film like this, when there's such a large ensemble and so much of what you're getting is in reaction shots, the editing is a very substantial contribution. And it was also nominated for Best Score by Jack Nitzsche. And it's kind of a weird little score, and I don't know why the Academy loved Jack Nitzsche back in the day, but they did, and they nominated him. IMDb has a great summary for this movie if you've never seen it. A rebellious convict, Jack Nicholson, is sent to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation in 1963 Oregon, and encourages his docile companions to take more control of their lives and defy the tyrannical head nurse, Nurse Ratched, played by Louise Fletcher. This film, if it wasn't the very first movie that these actors were in, it was one of the first, and it certainly launched all of their careers. It's got Christopher Lloyd as one of the people in the trying to think of a nice PC thing to call this. I don't want to say nut house. What's a nice term for nut house, Dave? I can't think of one. The asylum,
hospital.
The hospital. Let's say
State
hospital.
Yeah.
Yes, this the hospital. There we go.
A mental facility.
Yes. It's got Christopher Lloyd, and it's got Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito is the only one, I think, who actually played his part on Broadway in the play version, and Milos Forman didn't see any reason to cast another actor after he saw Danny. It's a weird little role for Danny DeVito. He mostly just says yes, but he's like really peculiar. He's like in the moment. They all are. And it's also got Brad Dourif, who really became big, especially amongst horror fans over the years. Mm-hmm. And he got an Oscar nomination for this role as Billy, the youngest person in this group of characters. It's also got Vincent Schiavelli. And right there you see Will Sampson, who plays Chief, this Native American who is pretending to be deaf and mute. Basically, Jack Nicholson at the beginning of the movie, you're not sure if he's pretending to be quote-unquote crazy because he doesn't want to do hard labor during his prison sentence. People tell him they think he's faking it so he doesn't have to work hard. But the movie also kind of gives you a little bit of indication here and there that maybe he's not really well. He says early in the film that he fights too much and he screws too much. He thinks that's his problem. So to that extent, I kind of read the movie as being, at least for his character and maybe for Christopher Lloyd's, that they're not really mentally unstable. They're just like toxic masculinity. They're just like, they fight and they screw too much. You know, they're too testosteroned up.
Nobody does crazy like Jack Nicholson. Do you think that this typecast him? Do you think this movie typecast him, or do you think that this is just how he is?
No, I think before this movie, he'd never really showed this side of himself. But this movie kind of launched that whole Jack Nicholson Unleashed.
Yeah.
Wild-eyed, crazy-eyed, manic.
Like, do you think that if we had never had Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, do you think we would have had Jack Nicholson as the Joker in Batman?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably not, because this movie, I think, more than any other... I mean, Easy Rider was kind of a big deal, but I think this one really announced to the world who Jack Nicholson was and what he was capable of, and also our favorite shade of Jack Nicholson, because he would do other kinds of films that required other kinds of performances, but this is the Jack we all want.
This is the Jack we all want.
And he deserves his Oscar that he won for this one. I think he won 3 Oscars by the time he passed away, at least 2. But in any case, I really enjoy this movie because it's writing and acting. The director, Milos Forman, really just kind of stays out of the way. And he really encouraged a lot of like rehearsal. And these actors say in some of the behind the scenes material that they all stayed in character the whole time. And they loved it. They just had a blast. They shot in real locations. They weren't sound stages. Michael Douglas says he was too stupid as a producer to realize they could have shot all this on a soundstage. But by shooting it in a real location, they slept in this hospital at night. So they were in it night and day, day by day, week by week until the movie was done. And they really just started to feel their characters. A couple of the doctors at the hospital even said that they thought a couple of these cast members actually should be in the hospital.
Yeah, that'd be a hard pass for me. That'd be a hard no.
You don't want to stay overnight at the
I don't.
Psychiatric hospital.
Oh man, I'd love that.
Of course you would.
Oh, Ben.
Oh, Ben.
And Louise Fletcher's character is a very interesting one because she doesn't say a whole lot to really make it point blank obvious that she's a villain. There's just a couple of things that happen where you're like, is she doing this on purpose? Is she really trying to play? Is she in control of these guys as like a power trip? Or is she actually thinking she's doing the right thing? I think there's enough ambiguity with her and with Nicholson's character that you really kind of are guessing the whole time. And I like that about the movie. I think it's a sad movie. I know Dave is not a fan of the depressing nature of the movie, but
it brings me no joy. I will say that.
I kind of got a perverse joy.
It would have to be a perverse one because I appreciate it on all other levels, but this movie it's consistent with a lot of other movies from the 70s in that it's very stark and bleak and sometimes minimalistic, you know. But yeah, it brings me no joy at all.
I mean, these clips seem to reflect perverse joy. I haven't seen it, but if I had to put that
it gets progressively darker.
Yeah, I think Ben would love it. I think he'd be all over it.
I think so too. I'm going to spoil it. So first, Nurse Ratched, when Jack Nicholson goes too far and like has some hookers come to the I keep wanting to call it asylum. I'm sorry for that. Psychiatric hospital one night, and Billy, Brad Dourif's character, loses his virginity. That's a bridge too far for her. And the next morning, when she finds out that Billy had sex with a hooker on the floor in the ward, she threatens to tell his mom about it, and he's a suicide risk. You learn very early in the movie, and he kills himself, offs himself, unalives himself. I forgot our rules here on YouTube. He unalives himself. And that pushes Jack Nicholson over the edge to attack her. And after that, he'd already earlier in the film been electrocuted. Like they put things on his head and they electrocute him for
electric shock therapy. Yeah,
electric shock therapy, and that's a scary scene that feels very real. But they go further and they lobotomize him at the end of this movie. So you're wondering, was it worth it for him? If he was really not quote unquote crazy, if he was just pretending to be so he could get out of hard labor, look how it turned out for him. But he's got a relationship with this Will Sampson character, Chief, throughout the movie. And it's a real sweet relationship. That's the heart of the movie, I think, for me, is the relationship between Jack Nicholson's character, they call him McMurphy, I think, and the Will Sampson character, Chief, because it's largely unspoken, but halfway through the movie, Chief speaks privately to Jack and kind of blows him away. He's like, oh my gosh, you've been pretending the whole time. And you kind of get the impression that they've both been pretending. And Chief is the ultimate hero of the movie because he smothers Jack Nicholson in his sleep when they bring him back after the lobotomy because he doesn't want Jack Nicholson to suffer a vegetable for the rest of his life. So he smothers him, and then he does what Jack Nicholson tried to do earlier in the film. He picks this big, heavy object up and he throws it at a window, and he runs away. So to me, it is sad that Jack Nicholson got what he got, but I'm also not sure he was a true hero. He is kind of an inspirational figure to these guys because he teaches them that they don't have to just sit in a ward like this and rot away. They can try to have a life at the same time. But Chief got away. I thought that was a happy ending. It wasn't that depressing for me because of that.
It's a happy ending by 1970s standards.
By 70s standards. So I think it's a haunting film. And I think it raises questions like, are these people really crazy? Some of them probably need to be there and some of them maybe don't. Some of them seem a little bit normal to me and maybe they don't need treatment. And is the treatment actually good for them? Like electroshock and lobotomy? I mean, we know that stuff is bad now, but they were doing it apparently within just the last 60, 70 years. So I don't know. I was very compelled by this. I found it a very compelling film. It moved me, and I thought it was extraordinarily well done. And for that reason, I give it a 10. I think it's a masterpiece. So if you've never seen it before, check it out. Or if you're Dave and you don't love it so much, do you want to give it a score, Dave, or do you want to abstain?
I'm not gonna yuck your yum. I'm not gonna harsh your buzz. So I'm
you
gonna
can.
Abstain. I mean, I think it deserves your 10. I think personally, I would give it a 6, but I think it deserves your 10. So.
Well, a 6 is good. It's not great, but it's good. So I don't think that's bad. We can agree to disagree on things, Dave. It's allowed.
I need to see it. Like I said, I guess it's one of my dad's favorites. He's always quoting the nurse Ratchet thing, or calling nurses Nurse Ratchet, that, like the dentist office. But he's a big Jack Nicholson fan. He has this framed picture of Jack Nicholson smoking a cigar or something at his hunting cabin, and there's a quote on it, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like, "I am what I am. Your approval isn't needed," something like that.
I think that's from the movie. I think I remember.
Yeah,
that.
I think so. But yeah, he would have been about 20 when this movie came out. So.
Oh my gosh! If I'd seen this when I was 20, it might have made a really big difference. But I caught it when I was much, much older on home video. But anyway, that's our review of 4K titles that came out within the last week. And now, kids, we're going to proceed to the second round of our favorite game show. Let's do the theme song again.
Welcome to everyone's favorite game show. Who's your devil? Game on! Name that devil, but don't get smart, or you might end up the devil's butt.
Now let me see if I can find the game show. Talk amongst yourselves. It was here earlier.
You think you'll find it, Dave? The suspense is killing me.
Is that it? Maybe that is it. Oh, that is it. Okay, it's here. It was here all along. It's like when you look for your glasses and they're on your face. It was up the whole time. Anyway, yeah, I'm with it. I'm here. Let's play some more. I have the comments open on the off chance that someone's watching. I'm going to give you 5 seconds.
We're all too devout to watch this episode.
Well, I think some
We'll
people
tell
are watching,
ourselves.
but they're not watching it in a way that they can comment or they can chat. When I watch on my TV, it's not so easy. So anyway, if you are able to chat the answers, then please chat in, just so we can call you the winner when this is over. Whoever gets the most correct answers is the winner after this round. This is a little bit of a longer round than the first one. It goes into some more obscure people who've played the devil. But if you win, you win, and if you lose, you're Satan's butt plug, so don't lose. Who can tell me out there in the chat, in the audience, what movie this actor played the devil in? Speak of the devil, and he shows up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, no one's chatting the answer. Dave, Ben, you got an answer for me?
Is it Death Becomes Her?
No.
Oh, something like that.
All right, no one knows. I'm going to say it. The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which I totally forgot is directed by George Miller, the guy that made the Babe movies and the Mad Max movies. So I want to see this again because it's been a long time and I don't remember it. It'd be like seeing it again for the first time. This one's on my radar again. Here's the next one. Chat, tell us who it is if you can type right away. Otherwise, Ben and David will be answering. Gabriel Byrne plays the devil in what movie? 3, 2, 1. Dave and Ben. I thought we talked about this recently, but maybe we didn't.
You did your homework. I have no clue. It's like high difficulty level.
Bam!
Devil
Is it-
placement. Oh,
is it-
okay.
Is it? Oh, End of Days. Yeah.
End of Days. Here's our next actor. James Woods. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dave and Ben.
Is it Hercules?
It is. Dave has a point.
Yeah.
Now Ben has
It's
a
an animated film.
now Ben has a point from the round 1, and now Dave has a point from round 2. So you're tied.
No, wait a minute. I had a point. I had a point from round 1 also. I
Oh,
remember.
did you?
Yes.
Then,
ask
then
Ben.
you're
Yeah,
ahead.
You did. Yeah.
Then Dave has 2, and Ben has 1. Ben, you don't want to be the devil's butt plug.
Yeah,
so
I don't.
pay attention. Who in what movie did this next actor play the devil? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dave.
Bedazzled.
All right, Dave has 3.
Oh man.
Ben, it's not looking good. You're going to go in the unholiest of holy soon.
I love my devil movies.
All right, 3-1. Here's the next actor. What movie did they play the devil in? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. David Ben, it's up for grabs. It's a comedy. It's a comedy that starred.
Oh, I know. It's Little Nicky.
It is 4-1. It's not looking good for Ben. Here's the next actor. In what movie did they play the devil? Bill Cosby. And real life is not the answer. It is an actual movie. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I have
David?
no idea. No clue.
No idea.
The Devil and Max Devlin, which I have not seen and did not know about prior to researching this show.
Interesting.
Next actor, Dave Grohl, Nirvana drummer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ben and Dave?
Is it in a music video?
Nope.
I don't know. Dave
Brooke
Grohl?
Williams is answering. Apparently,
Yeah.
there's probably a lag in the chat, so this might not be a good format for game shows moving forward. Because
Maybe
I'm
not
sure
5 seconds, but yeah.
I'm sure Brooke said the right answer when the question was being answered, but because she knows Dave Grohl didn't play the devil in Bedazzled. I know she knows that. But thank you for watching, Brooke, and thank you for playing. All right, the answer to this one, I didn't know this because I haven't seen this movie. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Oh, I should have known that one.
Oh yeah, I should have known that. Yeah, we have to remember don't we have like a 10-second like a 10-second lag between live and YouTube? So we
Maybe.
You may have to factor that in with future.
Well, I'll give people a little bit more time. Here's Peter Stormare.
Oh, I know this one.
I know this one.
Oh, does anyone in the chat know? Let's give the chat a chance.
We'll give the
we'll
chat
wait
like
and see.
We'll give them 10 seconds. Give them 10 seconds this time.
Peter Stormare's. I don't know if it's Stormare or Stormare.
I think it's Stormare.
I think it's Stormy. Yeah. He's actually been doing a lot of video game acting and kind of a choose your own
poor
adventure
thing.
series.
Because he can't get real work anymore?
No, he's kicking ass in that
All right.
series. That's one of the best parts of that series.
You guys both know the answer, so I think this one's disqualified.
Constantine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next
One of my
one.
favorites.
I think this is the last one. So Ben's already lost. But David Warner, in what movie did he play the devil? You know what? I put this together and I already forget the answer. Oh, now I remember. Now I remember. David, Ben, you got a guess?
I don't know. I don't know. He kind of looks like a devil in Tron, in the red. I don't know.
It's a Terry Gilliam film.
Time Bandits?
Dave is so not the devil's butt plug.
Oh, got it.
Congratulations, Dave, and we're so sorry, Ben. Hopefully the devil will take you out every now and then to let you breathe.
It burns so good.
It burns. We're now doing the time warp.
In my defense, you picked a lot of mainstream films. So.
Oh, heaven forbid we pick some movie someone's seen.
Right? Like, how is that your defense?
Ben, you need a more holistic movie diet.
That being said, I have not seen this one.
Arguable that perhaps Dave and I could use a little of that weird old crap that you watch, but I think you need us more than we need you.
Yeah, I would agree.
At this point, you've missed so many by not being born for so long, and then I don't know why, but man, not seeing Back to the Future until just a year or two ago, that's a crime. Anyway, Legend.
Legend.
This is a film that Ridley Scott directed on the heels of Alien and Blade Runner, so he was on a roll. And it is as beautiful or more beautiful than either of those two films.
Agreed.
Dave, do you feel good about synopsizing this movie? Because I talk too much.
Yeah, it stars Tom Cruise as Jack and Mia Sara of Ferris Bueller fame as Lily, who people say is a princess, although I don't think that's ever established, but we'll say Princess Lily. And she's got a thing for unicorns, and she wants to go pet a unicorn. And Jack, who is a forest boy and knows the forest and knows the unicorns, he's going to help her go pet a unicorn against his better judgment, and it thrusts the world into darkness inadvertently. And
well, a goblin shoots one of the unicorns when she's about to pet it or something.
Yeah. At the behest of Tim Curry's character. Tim Curry plays Darkness,
the devil.
The devil, yeah, basically the devil. So the devil wants the magic of the unicorns, and he sends out a goblin to go, shoot a unicorn, bring the horn back, and they count on this princess screwing everything up and giving them the opportunity, making the unicorn vulnerable so they can get the horn and take it back to the devil and then thrust the world into darkness. Blah 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 blah. That's it.
That's pretty much it. It's not like a very complicated storyline. It's very simple. I would say it's archetypal.
Exactly, yeah.
Ridley Scott was really trying to boil down the essence of a whole bunch of fairies, tales, and fables, and this is what they became. This is the reduction.
Yeah, it's like a fable or a light fantasy movie.
But he lavished it with such extraordinary aesthetics.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just looking at these stills.
When someone says, what's the most beautiful film ever made, I think at least 5 times out of 10, I'm going to say Legend. There aren't that many more films that I find as breathtakingly beautiful as this one.
I agree. I mentioned this, off camera or whatever before the show started, but I think of all the Tom Cruise movies, this is the least Tom Cruisey. This is like, and I don't think a lot of people even know that Tom Cruise is in this. Even people who've seen it don't. His character is kind of like the least important part. Most definitely, Tim Curry as Darkness steals the show.
Tim Curry had a hard time with this movie because he knew he was going to be in makeup, but they covered him up more and more, and the makeup got bigger and bigger as they were testing it out. And it got to the point where his eyes looked too little with all the horns and makeup that had made his face bigger. So then they said, we have to cover your eyes. And that was like the last part of him that was showing. So he was really disheartened, I remember, in the behind-the-scenes stuff when he learned that his eyes had to be covered in this full scleral-like contact lens that a nurse had to put in. So he was not comfortable, but man, it looks good.
It looks amazing. He had a very claustrophobic reaction to the makeup early on, and they had to redesign it. And also the horns were originally made out of fiberglass and huge and heavy, and they had to they were afraid that he just wasn't going to be able to do it at all, and they ended up having to redesign all the makeup in order to make it.
We should say the makeup artist is the renowned Rob Bottin, who did the costume that RoboCop wears.
Yeah,
he did the makeup effects for John Carpenter's The Thing.
I was gonna say, yeah, isn't that the guy from The Thing?
I mean, his work is legendary within the industry, and
Yeah, he had
this
to be
may be his magnum
after
opus.
The Thing.
Oh my God, you'd have.
Put
I mean,
so much into it,
and he
yeah.
was only like in his 20s, I think, when he did The
Yeah.
Thing, and this was just a few years later, so he was still a very young man, doing just the most exceptional work. Sadly, this did not win the best makeup Oscar, and I think in any other year it would have. But you guys know what beat it? The Fly.
well, that's legit though.
I know. When I racked my brain, I'm like, what the hell deserves the best makeup Oscar as much as Legend? And when I learned it was The Fly, I was like, oh, any other year, he would have had it.
Absolutely.
Because The Fly is so gross. I think I would have given it to Legend just as on a matter of principle. I love The Fly, but I can hardly ever watch The Fly. It's so disturbing. You don't like watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because it depresses you? The Fly, man. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But we digress. Well, we were talking about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise never talks about this film, and no one related to the making of Legend ever talks about Tom Cruise either.
No. He gave a Rolling Stone interview, I think the year after it came out, and he was kind of like pissy about it and
Really?
said he would never do another one like it again. I don't think he had a good experience with it, and I think that also he knew it was not a very Tom Cruisey movie.
That's a shame. I think that's a shame because I think it is a side of Tom Cruise that we never got to see again, and it kind of like rounds him out as a performer to be able to play this kind of, I don't know, light in his loafers, woodsy boy. I think a few years later he discovered Scientology, and I don't know why I have these imaginations of the Church of Scientology saying, "Yeah, don't make another Legend. That's not good for you, and it's not good for us."
Well, I know that Ridley Scott produces his films. Just he organizes them so well, and he produces them at a breakneck pace. I wonder if there was some
Not back
issue
then.
with- Not back then. Okay.
No, he took his time before, I think before Gladiator, you could say. After Gladiator, he really kind of changed the way he makes movies. But these, you don't make this kind of a movie fast.
Yeah, that's. I was wondering about that, but I know that like he did The Martian and like a year of that book coming out. It was insane.
I read a story about when he made Blade Runner, and the studio was really anxious to get started on the movie, but Ridley Scott was working on something else at the time, and so he was starting late. So the studio went ahead and started building sets and started, doing a lot of the production design, and then they worked on it for the better part of a year, and then he finished up whatever project he was working on, and he showed up and he said, "Yeah, no, this all sucks. Tear all this down."
Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
As a filmmaker, yeah, Scott and I, like as people who have made films, that's very painful. But.
That with my friends, I have a few friends that work in the industry. That stuff happens all the time. It's just
Yeah.
devastating and heartbreaking. It's stupid. It's just, how does this happen? But anyway, Tom Cruise, he's good in the movie. Tim Curry, his performance comes through all that makeup for sure.
It does.
You get shades of Rocky Horror Picture Show's Frankenfurter. There's shades of it in this devil character. He steals the show. He's magnificent looking, magnificent acting. You see this film for Tim Curry and how awesome all the makeup effects and how awesome the sets look. There are two versions of this movie, though, that make someone like me have a hard time knowing which one to watch. It was originally designed to have a score by Jerry Goldsmith, but when they tested the film in America, somehow they got the impression that the Goldsmith score wasn't working, and they ended up thinking a Tangerine Dream, New Agey type score would work better. So in America, it has the Tangerine Dream score, and it's a shorter film. I can't remember by how many minutes. I want to say it was maybe 7 or 10 minutes shorter.
It's like an hour and 38 minutes, I think, in America.
But the European version is longer and has the Jerry Goldsmith score.
Yeah.
I love the Jerry Goldsmith score. I have that soundtrack, and just to listen to it by itself is great. But in the European version, they don't play Jerry Goldsmith's music in the right places. They replay the same piece of music over and over and over again. So it's like a hack job treatment of Jerry Goldsmith's score. So I can't even say that I love the Jerry Goldsmith's version better, because at least the Tangerine Dream version's music is more purposeful and more unique throughout the film. They don't recycle bits of it over and over again.
So is there a way to watch it with the original score the way it's supposed to be?
I don't think so. No.
Wow.
They've never released that version. But if you watch the European version, you'll hear the same track. It's called Darkness Falls. They play it all through the movie, over and over again. For some reason, Ridley Scott, because he jettisoned Jerry Goldsmith on another film, I think, and he repurposed all of his music on Alien. And Jerry Goldsmith said after Alien he would never work with Ridley, but then he coaxed him back for Legend, and then after that it's like, nope, done with Ridley Scott forever now. You screwed me 2 times. Never
I did
again.
not know that about Alien.
It still has a Jerry Goldsmith score, but they repurposed it. Like, they didn't play it in the places that Jerry designed it for.
It's got to be my favorite score from him, even if they repurposed it.
And they used some music from other movies Jerry Goldsmith had done. I think some music from Freud pops up in Alien. But they're both pretty kind of... the Tangerine Dream score, I don't like as much on its own, but it kind of works for the American cut. In the 80s, when things were turning into MTV, it's a vibe. And what I really have a hard time reconciling is that I love the song at the end of the Tangerine Dream version.
But isn't that song...
Loved by the Sun? It's not in the European version.
Oh.
So I wish there was a way that I could combine the American and European version and rescore it so that it worked better. Like, the perfect Legend doesn't exist. But however you watch it, at least for your eyes, it's a wonderful experience. And if you prefer the Tangerine Dream score, then you're set. The American cut is a pretty solid one.
That song at the end, though, that's not by Tangerine Dream, that's by Yes, right?
Yeah, the singer, I don't know if it's the full band, Yes, but it's their singer anyway.
Yeah.
Anderson's his last
John
name.
Anderson. Yeah,
John Anderson. And it's a corny song, but it works so well at the end of this movie.
It does.
It just really, it's a nice button to that thing. It's a beautiful film. I just watched it recently. There's a Arrow Video put out a Blu-ray. For some reason, they couldn't get the elements to do a 4K for it. Or it was a licensing issue. I don't know. But the US cut looks way better on the Arrow Blu-ray. The European cut is a little fuzzy, a little older. You can tell that it wasn't restored. But at least you have the ability to choose between the two. And there's really nice supplemental features on Legend's release as well. So I was also going to mention that there's some history involved with this film. Pinewood Studios is where it was shot. And Pinewood Studios had, in 1976, they built the largest stage, I think, in the world for The Spy Who Loved Me. They had a set that they wanted to build, and no stage could hold it, so they built this thing. It was 140 feet wide, 336 long, and 41 feet high. It was larger than a soccer field. And it's called the Bond Stage. And they shot the forest scenes from Legend on this Bond Stage because it was just endless. And they had mirrors along the wall so that it would look even more endless when you looked across all these fake trees and everything. But they were shooting scenes that involved fire. And over the course of shooting, I don't know if it was for a day or for hours, this gas collected in the top of the stage. And the stage caught on fire June 27th, 1984, when they were shooting, and it burned to the ground. Like it was totally destroyed. And I think 2 people, no one died, because fortunately it happened during lunch break. If it had happened during production, there would have been a few hundred people in that building. But it happened on lunch break, and so only 2 people, I think a carpenter and a stagehand, or some other crew member, got some second-degree burns. But they rebuilt the stage the following year, 1985, and then it burned down again in 2006 after they filmed Casino Royale, and they rebuilt it again, and then they almost burned it down again in 2019 when they set off an explosion inside the stage for the making of No Time to Die. So I thought that was interesting, that this cursed stage location keeps burning down. But movies that were shot on this stage also include Superman, the movie, Dragon Slayer, Clash of the Titans, and Krull. Does anyone else want to add anything else to the beauty and grandeur of this gorgeous movie? I know Ridley said he wanted to do something beautiful like Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast. That was like a major source of inspiration, but this tops Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast like many times over. Like, look at these sets. Just look at the cinematography. Look, just like it's just exquisite.
Well,
and this was
like
before digital.
Like a live action, like Ralph Bakshi, like fantasy film or something. It's amazing. But also, I like I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it seems like there's a shared motif of the unicorn between this film and Blade Runner. I feel like there's a very similar shot in Blade Runner.
Oh yeah,
or one of the cuts where the unicorn is running toward the camera like that.
Yeah,
I don't remember when they shot that unicorn, and I don't remember if any cut of Blade Runner existed with the unicorn before Legend came out. So I wonder if the shot of it in the director's cut of Blade Runner, that I don't think came out until the late 80s or 90s even. Maybe it is from Legend. It looks like it could be, if my memory serves.
Yeah, like it looks like a very similar shot.
I have that origami unicorn on my movie shelves right in front of Blade Runner. It came with the old edition of the movie. It's plastic, but still, it's cool. Legend. Dave, it was your pick. So do you want to give it a review score first?
I would give this. I've had friends tell me that we give too many 7s on this show.
It is what it is.
You know, it is
non-committal 7s. Yeah,
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Dave gives it an 8. Before I give my score, I just wanted to add one more thing. It's not got a lot of action in it. Ridley Scott says in the behind the scenes that I think they spent so much money setting it up and making it and creating the world that when budget cuts came down, they had to really drastically reduce some of the choreography, action choreography that he had planned. So he says he's disappointed with how Legend turned out because it's very light in action.
I don't think it suffers from that at all, in my opinion. So I think
I didn't even think about that until he said it. But I do think he's right. If it did have a little more action, it might have been a bigger hit right away. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie that much. I'm also going to give it an 8. I'm tempted to give it a 9 just because of its excellence, just the beauty that it looks. But the fact that there's not like one version that's perfect for me and I kind of have to watch 2 versions to get everything I want out of it. Boy, I wish I could just get in there and make my own version. But that's never going to happen. Let's move on to our next devil movie. The Devil and Daniel Webster from 1940 frickin' 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I discovered this movie when I was working at a Hollywood Video in Sherman Oaks, California in 2002. I would just take home some VHS tapes and DVDs at night just to watch shit. I had nothing else to do. I didn't have a car, didn't have a life. And this movie blew me away. I think in terms of just discovering a movie cold, this might be one of the top 3 movies I've discovered for myself. Like, just no one recommended it to me. I just kind of picked it up on a lark. It blew me away when I watched this VHS tape. I fell so hard in love with this movie when I watched that VHS tape that I had to own it. And as soon as I went on the internet and looked, I saw that Criterion was putting out a DVD of it like just a month or 2 away. So I pre-ordered the shit out of that. And it was one of my prized possessions, this DVD of Devil and Daniel Webster. Last year, they finally upgraded it to a Blu-ray. The Blu-ray has a different title, though. It's called All That Money Can Buy. Mm-hmm. They originally were scared to release it as The Devil and Daniel Webster for 2 reasons. Because there was another movie that came out recent in 1941 called The Devil and Miss Jones. And also they were worried that the South would be a little bit religious and not want to play a movie that had the devil in the title. So it was widely known in the 40s as All That Money Can Buy. And then Criterion gave it The Devil and Daniel Webster, which is the best title for it. Most appropriate for the DVD, but then they went back to All the Money Can Buy for the Blu-ray. So you'll hear it called both movies. You'll also maybe hear it referred to as a third movie, This Is a Man. It also had that title in some markets. I don't know how it got such an unlucky reputation in terms of a confusing title. It's based on a story by Stephen Vincent Benet, The Devil and Daniel Webster, that was published in 1936. And that story is heavily inspired by Faust, in which Mephisto makes a bet with God that he can buy a man's soul. And in this movie, The Devil and Daniel Webster, you basically have James Craig is the main star. He plays a down-on-his-luck farmer who's really hurting to make ends meet with his wife and his mother, played by Jane Darwell from The Grapes of Wrath, that also lives with them. And they're at their wits' end, not knowing how they're going to survive. And basically, he says something in his barn when he's really frustrated, something to the effect of he'd do anything if he could just get some money. And lo and behold,
I'd sell my soul for 2 cents to the devil.
Is that what he said?
That's what he said. Yeah, he literally says he would sell his soul.
Right at that moment, the lights come up in the barn, all creepy-like, and this shadowed figure comes toward him. And it's Walter Houston as the devil, Old Scratch.
Incredible moment. It reminded me of Hellraiser, where Doug Bradley comes out of the walls with the bright lights like that, and the sound is where all the farm animals are flipping out and everything.
Yep. The sound design's really
awesome
cool there.
Moment.
So the devil basically makes a deal with him. He'll give him 7 years of prosperity in exchange for this gold that he just kind of kicks the ground and gold pops up. But at the end of 7 years, does he actually tell Jabez, the main character, that his soul will be his?
Yes.
Or is he a little less vague about it?
He makes him sign a contract in blood.
Yeah, he tells him, he's like, well, what is a soul anyway versus this money that you can touch?
All right. You know? I've seen it several times, but these guys have seen it within the last week, and I haven't seen it in a while. But he takes the deal, and he has the 7 years of prosperity. His wife has a baby. One of my favorite things about this movie in general is just how it marries fantasy and reality. It kind of reminds me of Edward Scissorhands in that way, and that it is reality, and it's this idyllic, beautiful old Americana, when communities took care of themselves and they lived on the land, off the land, and there was a politician here, Daniel Webster, who wasn't creepy and hated like we hate our politicians now. He was a man of the people, and people loved him. It was just such a better time in so many ways. But these fantasy elements just constantly kind of soak into this movie. One is when Walter Houston appears for the first time, but the next big moment is when the babysitter from hell appears at the fireplace.
Yeah. The nanny.
Like the devil wants to keep tabs on the farmer. So right after the baby's born upstairs, Anne Shirley, who plays Jabez's wife, is upstairs with this baby. he goes downstairs like all in a good mood. He's the dad, and there's this beautiful woman at the fire, and she talks very strangely. She's played by Simone Simon, who also appeared in the what are those Val Lewton movies, the Cat People movies? She's in one or maybe both of those. That's the only other thing I can think of that she's in. But she's so creepy and eerie in this film. But basically, she's there to take care of the baby and be the devil's representative, spying on this poor family.
And drive a wedge between him and his more devout wife. You know?
Yeah. And basically, the wife and the mother get to the point where they can't stand how Jabez has changed, how wealth has transformed him to be a not very nice person anymore. And they call upon Daniel Webster, who's played by, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. Oh my goodness, I could just about hate myself for that.
Edward Arnold?
Edward Arnold.
Edward Arnold, yeah.
Plays Daniel Webster. They solicit him to come and save Jabez. And basically, when it's really close to the time that Walter Houston's going to cash in that soul, Edward Arnold shows up as Daniel Webster, and the devil's been trying to get his soul for a long time. So Daniel Webster makes a deal with the devil to have a trial. Let's put Jabez on trial with a jury of these damned Americans from history who will make the final judgment as to whether or not Old Scratch deserves this farmer's soul or not. So at the very end of the movie, there's this ethereal trial in a barn with all these ghostly figures from the past. And even before that, the scene in the ballroom where the Old Scratch claims John Quaylen's soul. Like, there's another man who made a deal with the devil who lives nearby. He's the banker, I think. The banker comes to visit him, and Simone Simon, the devil's babysitter, is dancing with him at this party, and he dies while he's dancing with her. And then there's this spooky imagery of all these like ghostly people staring in through the curtains, and Jabez sees essentially this man become a moth. Like his soul turns into a moth, and Walter Houston puts the moth in a bag, and he insinuates this is what's going to happen to you soon. As soon as your contract's up, you'll be a moth, and I'll put you in the bag too. This is a horror movie.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a fantasy horror film from 1941. I've talked enough about it. You guys talk about it now.
Yeah, in that scene, he tells Jabez that his soul is to the point where it's so small that he could put it in his breast pocket, but he really wants Daniel Webster because it would be so big that he'd have to have a special box made for it.
Yeah, that was right after Jabez just basically told his wife to leave, like bandaged his wife and kid, and he's like, "Yeah, your soul could fit in my vest pocket." Like, you could absolutely believe it as the audience at that point. Like,
the director is William Dieterle, who I don't remember hearing his name bandied about much when I was taking film classes and stuff. He's a German filmmaker who started off doing silent films in Germany. I have another of his films called Sex in Chains, and it's a silent film, I think from the 20s, about a guy who goes to prison and develops a romantic relationship with another man there. So it's like a really early gay movie. But then he gets out of prison and tries to have a relationship again with his wife, who's been waiting for him. And the guy that he was in love with in prison, like, gets out of prison too and comes to their house one day. And it ends tragically because the three characters can't move on with how complicated their lives have become. It's a really progressive kind of film for the 1920s. And he also is probably most famous for directing Charles Laughton in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He also directed Paul Muni, who's a really good actor, in 3 films that he won Oscars for, at least 2 of these. The Story of Louis Pasteur, The Life of Emile Zola, and Juarez. And his career kind of ended in the 50s because the Red Scare was going on. And even though he wasn't technically on the blacklist, he had made some films that felt very, I don't know if liberal's the word you want to use, some films that made some people doubt his loyalties. So when he couldn't get work, he went back to Germany in 1958, and he made a few more films after that. But boy, for a while there, he was doing 6 films a year in the 30s with Warner Brothers. He was like a factory director for hire on a lot of stuff.
This film has those themes for sure, where instead of joining the farmers' grange, which essentially is like from what I understood, is like a farmers' union to advocate for rights and to bust their debts that they have to monopolies and loan sharks and things like that.
That was too commie for McCarthy.
And,
in the 50s,
instead
man.
of joining one of these granges, he basically forms his own monopoly. Jabez, after he gets his money, he buys out the other farms and basically becomes a capitalist, forming an absolute monopoly over the farms in New England, becoming the richest man in the country. They even say too. So
it is kind of a didactic movie. I don't know if didactic's the right word. It certainly has a message. It has messages to say that have socio-political implications. But I think it has a light touch with those. It really, first and foremost, is just this kind of spooky fantasy, country idyllic fairy tale. Yeah. That's what I love the most about it. The cinematography is freaking gorgeous in this movie at times. For 1941, I think at the time, like everyone was talking about Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane is more polished than this movie overall and consistently, but there are moments in this movie that I feel like rival Citizen Kane. I almost wondered if it was the same cinematographer, but it's not. Joseph August is the cinematographer. He got a nomination later for working with William Dieterle again on another film called Portrait of Jenny. I love the characters.
The cinematography blew me away on this, and in fact, where you have these strong primary lighting sources and the material of the story, it reminded me a lot of Yaron Blaschke's work with Robert Eggers and like The Witch and things like that.
Yeah,
especially that scene when he's whispering in Daniel Webster's ear reminded me so much of Black Phillip whispering at the end of. So good.
Yeah, all these scenes we're seeing, the lighting is just used to really great effect. A lot of really deep contrast.
Yeah, I love
the sound too. Like the sound, actually, I don't know if it's because I was watching it on my computer with my headphones, but some of the transitions and some of the reveals, the kind of the stings they did with the sound, it wasn't necessarily like a jump scare, but it did kind of drive to your core. And which is funny because when I first queued up the film and it has this like upbeat, overture, like most films from this time had, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to match like the story as I understand it. But it just absolutely clashed with the rest of the music in the film and the sound design.
It's a dynamic score that Bernard Herrmann wrote. Of all the wonderful film scores Bernard Herrmann wrote for, he did some Harryhausen films. He did a bunch of movies with Alfred Hitchcock. He's the most famous film composer before John Williams. He only won one Oscar, and it was for The Devil and Daniel Webster. So the sound, the score, and the use of sound effects in this film is really outstanding, especially when you consider it's 1941. Sound design usually wasn't this creative, especially whenever those ethereal, devilish things happen. The sound design gets pretty creative. We have to also talk more about Walter Houston, because he played the devil.
Right here, this shot.
I already loved Walter Houston before I saw this movie, because I loved him in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
The end right there where he looks at the camera and then he points at you, it points at the audience. I love that.
Like Uncle Sam.
Yeah, like Uncle Sam.
Yep. That shot right there, if I'm not mistaken, that is Daniel Webster telling old Scratch, I expected to see you on the side of the opposition. And then he walks away and Scratch says, oh, I'll be there too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many people feel that way about politics today?
Exactly.
He's so charming as the devil. So
he just
charming.
seamlessly moves into the scenes too. Just like that, where he just kind of jumps in, putting his coat on, and he's like, oh, you again. And he's just right there.
It's gorgeous. Walter Houston was nominated for his performance as Old Scratch, but again, Bernard Herrmann won the only Oscar that this film was awarded, and it's the only Oscar Bernard Herrmann ever earned, which is also kind of a weird thing. Another little tidbit I wanted to mention was that the film editor, is Robert Wise, who would go on to direct The Sound of Music, The Haunting, and Star Trek The Motion Picture. That's cool.
Some of my favorite films in there.
I know.
There's a great montage in this too, where they show the passage of time in the form of the harvest, and then they have the kind of the double like imposed image of his wife with the wheat, indicating that she is pregnant. And they kind of suggest it later that she is expecting after that image, but just the imagery told it 1st. And I love that.
The scene where they're dancing in the barn, Simone Simon, there's all this underlighting, and Simone Simon and James Craig are dancing, and Old Scratch is up in the rafters playing the fiddle. The
Oh,
cutting,
that was
the
great.
editing with the
Too,
music
yeah.
there, that was a magical cinematic moment. This movie's ahead of its time in several ways. I don't know why I haven't heard more about this movie over the years. It astounds me that we don't hear about this like we hear about The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like, this should be as famous as The Wizard of Oz, and it's not, and I don't know why, because it's freaking awesome. I can't give it a higher score. It's a freaking 10 for me. It's in my
Absolutely.
top 20 movies of all time. Now, I'm not trying to pressure you guys, but you can tell me what your scores are at any time.
Well,
but
I was gonna say-
I'm going to go, I can't wait. It's a 10. I have to tell the world right now.
Another
I love
little,
it.
another interesting little tidbit for this movie, for like trivia fans, is if you pay attention to the credits, you watch the credits, the judge in the movie is credited as John Hawthorne, and John Hawthorne was a real life judge in the Salem witch trials in like 1692.
Yeah.
So do you think they were just using a fake name in the credits to make that Easter egg something we would notice? Or do
I
you
don't
think
know.
that actor's name was really John Hawthorne?
No, it's the character's name is John Hawthorne.
Oh, the character's name is John
Yeah,
Hawthorne.
he's
Yes,
the judge
that
in
makes
the
sense.
trial. Yeah.
That makes sense. That's very cool.
That was the thing about the jury of the damned, was they were all Americans who were led astray by gold, or
Yes.
and that whole speech at the end was really interesting. And again, I was looking it up, that this film released just before Pearl Harbor, and so it's kind of interesting glimpse into the anxieties of pre-war America. I mean, we were involved in the Lend-Lease Act and stuff like that, but the fact that we're talking about farmers, struggling and being bought out, and kind of these sort of leftist movements and all that speech at the end was basically like, this is what the American dream is. We do not sell out to gold, to these new oppressors. And I thought that was a really powerful message that might have gotten overshadowed by the subsequent mobilization of film in service of the war effort afterward. And maybe that's why this film kind of went unnoticed. Maybe its message was a little bit too
The war probably had
inconvenient.
something to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it more. I really can't. I just adore it in every way. I can't even criticize it. I can't think of a single thing that I would do differently. If you've never seen it, you have to see it. I'm glad you guys both decided to check it out, because I know we don't always have time to watch the movies we review.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I don't think I ever would have watched it on my own. I don't think I would have discovered it on my own otherwise, but I'm glad you did.
This is one I'm glad that I did break my rule of waiting to read the book first,
Well, I think it's a short story. I don't think it's a full book.
Yeah,
So you
it's a
probably could have
short
fit it
story.
in. Do you guys want to give it a score?
I would also give it a 10.
This is a 10, yeah.
10s across the board, people. If you've never seen this movie, I know it's from 1941. I know it's black and white. But if you love any old black and white movie, you're going to love this one. It's just one of the best. One of the best. And that's going to take us to our third movie and final movie that we're going to talk about tonight. Our third devil movie. Dante's Inferno, or L'Inferno, if you want to go with the original Italian title.
If you want to be all fancy schmancy about it.
Yeah.
Ben will call it L'Inferno. I will call it Dante's Inferno, because I'm not highfalutin like that. So, Ben, my understanding is you're going to take us through most of this, but
Yeah.
I want to ask you to confirm a couple of things off the top. I heard that this is possibly the first horror film, and is, without a doubt, the first full-length feature film from Italy.
Yeah.
I believe it is the first feature-length film from Italy. As far as horror film, I know that Edison did a version of Frankenstein very early on in the advent of film. So I don't know. I know that it is considered to be the oldest surviving feature film as well.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Well, that's
but yeah,
something.
it's.
Is it older than Trip to the Moon? I
It's
don't know when Trip to the Moon was.
1911.
I think Trip to the Moon was 1912. I could be.
We're looking it up in real time. 1902 is when Trip to the Moon was. But it was a short.
Yeah, Trip to the Moon was short.
Yeah.
So
this is a historical film in a couple of ways then.
yeah, absolutely. And then you see these shots here in the river Styx, just the number of extras and
And
the
isn't that
sets
poop? Like, doesn't it say that they're in poop there?
It's
don't think so.
sulfur pits, right? I thought it was sulfur pits.
Well, maybe I'm just thinking Ben and poop. I associate those after Salo. So
Okay.
But yeah, you can see the sets and the costumes and the number of extras, that this was a really remarkable production. And from what I understand, as far as its premiere in the States, this was the first like feature film that they showed in its entirety. Previously, they would show films episodically because they weren't confident that people would want to sit in a theater long enough to watch.
This movie took
feature length.
It took 3 years to make this film.
Oh yeah. I guess from between 1908 and 1911, they showed this. But yeah, it's more or less an abridged summary of Dante's Inferno, which was written in the 1300s after Dante, the poet in Italy, was exiled from Florence for his political views. Apparently, it was a difference in opinion on the validity of the papacy as a political entity in Florence. And so he wrote this, partially for its philosophical value, but also kind of make a list of all his political enemies and how he envisioned them suffering in hell. And kind of an interesting fact about that was the first instance of sinners being punished in poetic ways in hell, like the way that being envisioned in art. Before, it was just kind of like you're just burning in hell. With this, it's broken down into 9 circles. A lot of people think it's 7 circles to match the number of deadly sins, but it is 9 circles of hell, with the lowest pit being for traitors, and it is actually a lake of ice. So Dante, in the course of his life's journey, finds himself in a forest and he's lost. I think they say midway upon life's journey. So almost like a midlife crisis. He's in this forest, he's lost. I believe the film says that he's attempting to ascend the mountain of salvation, but he's blocked by 3 different beasts, a leopard, a lion, and one other type of beast. And so he has to take a different path. And he meets the Roman poet Virgil, who becomes his guide through the afterlife. The Divine Comedy goes through Inferno, Purgatory, and Paradise. And it's all like in his goal to achieve salvation and also to reunite with his unrequited love, Beatrice. In real life, Dante had this unrequited love, and she's an angel in the Divine Comedy. But again, this is basically an abridged version of part 1 of 3. And it goes through the different circles of hell. And in the original story, he does kind of confer with the different sinners and he hears their story. And in the original work, there's just a number of references to ancient history, these figures from ancient history and the history contemporary to the 1300s. The film kind of cherry picks some of them and then with these effects expresses them with wondrous appeal. But
I'm seeing a lot of butts. Is that part of the wondrous appeal for you?
Yeah, I mean, in
This is a strange way to get your porn, Ben.
And then you have Cerberus here, the 3-headed dog. And that's the other thing that was interesting about Dante's Inferno, the original work, and that they highlight here in part in the film, is that it blended a lot of Greek and Roman mythology. And this is I believe this is the second circle of hell, for sinners of lust, where they're constantly buffeted by winds and rain and never feeling warmth and comfort. But yeah,
this is like the worst Disney World ever.
But I actually had the privilege of seeing a live score for this film in 2019 performed by Maurizio Guarini of Goblin fame. Goblin having scored Suspiria and a number of other horror films in the 70s and 80s.
Goblin's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool, especially since at that time there wasn't a version of this film that didn't have a Tangerine Dream score to it, which I never really.
I actually wanted to watch that version, but I had a hard time finding it.
Really? But,
yeah.
Yeah. So Red Creek Studios. They're kind of a small French outfit that remasters silent films. They did a crowdfunding campaign to remaster this, and their master was released by TerrorVision, kind of a small
Was
video
this
label.
just a year ago?
Yeah, that was it was like a couple years ago was the crowdfunding campaign, but I think it was about a year or so ago that TerrorVision put out their Blu-ray of this. But yeah, it's a wondrous film for its effects and just the way that you consider 1911, like the film industry at that time, it was so experimental. They didn't know what worked yet. They just did it. And they did it with wondrous aplomb here. Just this shot of Lake Cocytus. That's the name of the frozen lake in the pit of hell, and these traders frozen in the lake. It's just amazing to see that so early on in film history. But
It has its moments. I would say perhaps it's a bit like Pulp Fiction is for you. Now, I didn't watch it from beginning to end. I really just skimmed it. But I'm not sure that, for me, this is a film that I could watch from beginning to end like I could watch, like, Metropolis.
you have this shot of Satan here devouring. He has three different heads.
Yeah.
Three different heads devouring the worst traitors, Judas, Cassius, and Brutus. The latter two having been important in the assassination of Julius Caesar. Basically.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes right there.
Om nom.
Yeah.
Om nom, get in my belly.
So, Ben, I wanted to ask you, since you probably know way more than anybody on this show about this movie, at the very beginning when Beatrice descends, she has what looks like, she's not supposed to be an angel, right, in the Divine Comedy, but she has what looks like wings or something happening behind her when she descends. Do you know what that is? It almost looks like, it almost looks like it almost looks like a biblical kind of interpretation of what angels look like.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, she in the Divine Comedy, she is an angel, but Beatrice was somebody that Dante had known in his life, that it was just this woman that he pined for, and it was just an unrequited love. But so he renders her as an angel in the Divine Comedy, and she's kind of summoning him to the third.
Is that her?
There's that scene
to paradise. Yeah.
So look at her wings,
I
or
couldn't
whatever,
tell.
or whatever those are.
I couldn't tell if they were doing that to make her look ethereal or if there was just a windmill behind her.
I assumed it was to make her look ethereal, but I thought it was really a really interesting shot.
And there's me sitting on a rock.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there was a project to produce Paradise Lost, starring Bradley Cooper as the devil, that never came to fruition. And I just think it's interesting that since 1911, we've never really seen an epic portrayal of the underworld like you see in this film. I think there might have been another one from the 30s adapting Dante's Inferno that I'm not super familiar with.
I feel like
But
there
other
has
than
to be
that,
another
it's-
couple.
I don't know. I think,
But certainly
this
none
is
in
about
recent
it.
times that I can remember. Now, I also saw that this was advertised when it first came out as being 2 hours and 15 minutes long. Like the poster said, 2 hours and 15 minutes of startling scenic surprises. Which I think is a really good way to synopsize it, because it's just like a travelogue through hell.
I did see
Literally.
that on the IMDb, but
But the version that they restored is only 71 minutes, so it seems like this might be another Metropolis where there's a bunch of footage that's lost or unavailable right now that maybe will be found at some point.
What's interesting about the version that Red Creek restored, it's a red tint version, which because red tinted film was so either expensive or hard to come by or something, that was kind of the form of copyright protection back in the day, that the red tinted film was the official version, because it was difficult to reproduce or acquire without, being a first party studio.
Well, this is blue, so it must be some bootleg shit. Well, this is a hard film for me to rate, and I'm going to abstain because I haven't watched it from beginning to end. But do either of you gentlemen want to give it a score?
It's a 10 for me.
Yeah, I probably should abstain too. watched it most of the way through, but I can't really say I watched it all the way through. So it wouldn't be fair for me to give it a score. But if I did, it probably would not be a 10. But that's
I mean, Dante's Inferno has a special place in my heart, like the original book.
What does that say about you?
Well, when I was in high school, we would have required reading, and sometimes I felt like I don't know, there was something strange about being forced to read somebody's work for an assignment. I get that they're trying to make students aware of it, but to force it and then grade their understanding of it, it was just something I rebelled against quite a bit.
That's pretty much all of school.
Yeah, that's not a unique experience.
So especially in the case of like George Orwell's 1984, I felt like there was some weird irony to the state requiring me to read 1984.
Oh,
but so I would.
Boy,
read,
you were a fucked up kid, weren't you?
Right?
I read Dante's Inferno on my own time. I would bring it to class, and I had this very provocative like cover. It was like I don't know if it was like a Hieronymus Bosch like insight of his triptych of the afterlife, where there's all those naked people and everything. But I would bring that to school. I would read it, and I would make it well known to my teachers. This is what I'm reading instead. There was just nothing they could do about it.
Oh my God!
Like, well, he's still reading classic literature. So.
I bet you were the student who, when the teachers met in the teachers lounge, like you were the one where like I've tried to quit smoking for 6 months, but I can't. There's just this one kid. And everybody's like, oh yeah, it's Ben, right? Yeah, that's
my
the one.
folks got some funny calls home on occasion. So
you're a weirdo, Ben. You're a weirdo. God bless you. Yeah, this film I didn't know about it before Ben told me about it, and so when I researched it, it's interesting to see how it fits into film history. I don't know that it's the kind of thing I can watch for fun, but I like to think that I can go pretty far back in time, like Metropolis and the other silent films I really do enjoy watching on their own, every so often anyway. But this one's way back. This is like 15 years older than Metropolis even, so this is like way... Like, this movie's more than 100 years old.
This is before World War One, which is interesting to think about too. And then, Scott, you were like, "Well, we have too many '80s films." I'm like, okay, let's. This will
blow the curve. This one blows the curve a bit. Well, with Dante's Inferno, we're going to end our discussion on specific devil films. But since we only really talked about 3, and we also had fun playing everyone's favorite game show, Who's Your Devil? I thought we'd also just give a chance to mention any other films involving the devil.
Oh, yeah.
Or the devil's child, or devil-adjacent things. It all reminds me of a video store in Bloomington, Plan 9 Video. I walked in there one night, and I was looking at all the different categories of sections that they had. And they had a section devoted to satanic children. And right next to it, they had a small section of like 5 or 6 titles called Non-Satanic Malevolent Children. So I'm like, wow, that's really specific.
Anybody who goes looking for Plan 9, it doesn't exist anymore under that name. It's now called Vulture Video, but it's still, I believe, still around.
I hope they still have non-satanic malevolent children.
I hope they do.
So devil movies aren't something that come immediately to mind as something that I love a lot of. Of all these posters flashing by, I think I'd have to say Hellraiser's probably my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. Although, is it really a devil movie? Because he's not really he's not the devil.
It's Hellraiser.
Yeah.
It kind of feels adjacent. I don't think
it does
he's
feel
not really
adjacent,
the devil.
Yeah.
But it's dealing with devilly things. For sure. And then Rosemary's Baby and The Omen, I suppose that's the devil being reborn in the child, right? Like,
right.
That's what's going on. I like
Devil's
The Omen
Reign.
quite a bit. Rosemary's Baby is one that I have a hard time with. I know it's loved by a lot of people, and one of these days I hope to see it and fall in love with it the way a lot of other people do, but I just kind of think it's all right. I don't know why. It just isn't one of my movies. The Witch.
The Witch, though.
Ooh.
Damn.
I think we're going to save the Eggers movies for when Werewolf comes out next Christmas. I'm a huge fan, and I know Ben is too. David Eggers. Is it Robert Eggers? I always get his first name
Eggers,
wrong.
Yeah. It's Robert Eggers, yeah.
Robert Eggers. Big fan. big fan. Probably my favorite director, still alive and working today. But The Witch is, you feel the devil.
Yeah.
Like, no shit. All these other movies, that most of what we've talked about, you don't actually feel the devil behind you. But there are a few times towards the ends of The Witch where you're like,
Yeah. I walked out of that movie and I was shook.
oh, it was awesome. Witch, favorite film of this century so far. I probably say a lot of hyperbolic things like that, but I really mean it.
But this time I really mean it. I promise.
Devil's Reign is John Travolta's first movie. He was like an
Really?
extra at it, and then they used a mask for William Shatner's character for Michael Myers' mask later on. So that's one to
Wait,
check
say
out
that
just for
again.
those.
Wait,
So
what?
William Shatner's character, who's like the main character in that movie, he gets like possessed, and there's like a mask prosthetic from that film that was repurposed for Michael Myers' mask, which was always
Oh, okay.
known to be a
See, I
William
knew
Shatner
that about
mask.
Halloween, but I didn't
Yeah.
know the connection to The Devil's Reign.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so that one's kind of
damn, Ben.
This is the Devil Rides Out.
I think Ben needs a clip for that.
Where are they? I think they're talking about us. No way.
I always get that once an episode.
Well, I mean, it's warranted, dude. You're pretty nerdy about some things, that's for sure. I mean, pot calling the kettle black to some extent, I'm sure. But anyway, maybe
Yeah,
I'm just
Anton
more of a bully.
Anton LaVey did some consulting on Rosemary's Baby too.
And he was like the guy in charge of the Church of Satan or something.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
Actually, I meant to include in the list we made for this the documentary Satanist, the Devil's Mass, where it's just a documentary about him performing a black mass in San Francisco, I believe, at their black house where they all hung out there. That one's different. That was released by AGFA.
The Devil Rides Out, I've heard a lot of people say is their favorite Hammer movie.
Oh yeah, Dennis Wheatley book was awesome. The movie was amazing too, and I love that poster.
That is a good poster. Hammer is good at posters.
Haxon's amazing. I think it was like the only film from that director, Benjamin Christensen. But man,
So that was our first theme show, gentlemen.
Loved it.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do it quite a bit more often. We'll talk later in halfway through the week about how we're going to move forward. But our next show is already planned. And as I said at the beginning, we are devoting next Sunday night to the entire year of 1980.
I was just a baby.
You were less of a baby than me. I was 6. You were older than 6. Ben was less than a baby. Ben was a dirty thought in his dad's head. But yeah, that was 10 years before you were born, right, Ben?
11, yeah.
11. So 1980 is actually the first year I was aware of time. I think that's a pretty cool thing because I was at school and the teacher wrote the date and it had 1980 at the end, and I was like, "What's 1980?" And she's like, "That's the year that we're all in." And I was like, "Well, I'll be damned." So I was 6 years in the 70s and didn't even know it. Probably a lot of other people had that experience, but they had drugs as an excuse. So 1980 is when I became aware of time, and that's when 2 of my favorite movies of all time came out. The Empire Strikes Back is one of them. I know that's not an original thing to say, but the heart loves what it loves, and The Empire Strikes Back is the one that made me want to be a filmmaker. The other one I didn't watch until I was in my 20s or 30s, and it ended up winning the Oscar for Best Picture that year. So we'll talk about Ordinary People next week as well. We're gonna skip over some that maybe are not very popular, but we're gonna try and cover many dozens of movies, as many as possible, and go in depth on a handful, as many as we can afford to. And Arthur's going to be our guest, so we're going to have another set of eyes on these films, and another set of expertise. Arthur's seen a ton of movies, And Arthur can talk about almost all of them forever and ever and ever if we don't rein them in. And so we will do our best to rein in Arthur's enthusiasm, because I know if we let him, he could go 2.5 hours just on one 1980 movie. I have no doubt. And he's seen the list, and he has seen a lot of them, so I think it's going to be fun. And if that show goes well, I would kind of like to focus on a year every month or so. I think that would be really fun. And if you have any other themes that you would like us to consider for a show, please feel free to chat or comment on one of our videos. I will see that for sure. You can also email shermercinema@gmail.com if you prefer to do that. But honestly, I'll see it faster if you just comment on one of our videos on what kind of a theme show you would like to see. Gentlemen, is there anything else that you guys would like to say tonight before we wrap it up?
I think that about covers it. Say a few Hail Marys to cleanse yourself after this episode.
All right. Thanks, guys, for being part of the show, and thanks for everyone who's watched and participated. We'll see you again next week.
See you next time.
Back in time. It'll be 1980 again, and it'll be awesome.